title screen. And we're back. What is up, friends? Welcome back to Fates United. A little different looking tonight. More of a laid back, grab a drink of wine and hang out by the fire. Say hello. Ask a friend a question. It's one of those nights tonight. Plus a little technical difficulties, as always, because Twitch is a bum. But thanks, Twitch, for hosting us. Anyways, so it's another week, another Thursday. Thank you guys all for showing up, hanging out. I love all of you. And I'll jump into chat here a little bit. I was kind of catching up with just everything. So, but we have a new overlay. Tried to clean it up a little bit. I figured, you know, new arc, new dis, new me. You know, we gotta make it look good. So hopefully you guys, it'll look a little better. We can show off our players' faces a little bit more. They got their artwork there. So yeah, it'll be a little fun. But my name is Michael. I am Bardicdice. I will be your dungeon master / host for the night. As tonight's going to be a special edition of Fates United. Instead of jumping into our story, we have officially ended our first arc, the Centaurium arc. And tonight we're going to do a bit of a quick recap and question and answer. For those of you that have not been here since the beginning, can kind of get caught up on the story, get to know our characters and players a little bit more, and you guys can kind of delve a little deeper into the inspirations that they had, and for some of the things maybe that I've written into the story, minus spoilers, of course. As always, we love that if you guys want to come join us live, you can. We do this every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Twitch on Bardicdice channel. And if you want to catch this after the live stream, we are on VOD on the Twitch stream, or for the most part, you can catch our older episodes on YouTube that are slowly catching up. But yeah, it's super fun. If you haven't follow our socials, we have always fun announcements there, and we ever have to change stream or new announcements, things like that, we put it there, like City of Mist campaigns, or when I go on and do you know, playthrough streams, things like that. If you are interested, we also do have a merch store. We have stickers and a little you know, you could do like a coffee mug holder thing and t-shirts and all that of our Fate stuff, which we have some new stuff coming up here in the second arc, and I'm excited to show you all. Being said, we're at 297 followers, which is nuts. So we are 3 away from 300, and we're gonna go ahead and do a 300 follower sticker giveaway. So once we hit that, anyone who's in chat for that game will have a chance to win. So definitely, if you're interested, if you like what you see here, share with your friends and see what we can do. We have a fun community. Being said, we actually have the bestest community of all time. Our Discord is shared between my channel, Bardicdice, the Bardic Tavern, and Marquee Gaming's channel, and a bunch of other ones as well. Highlighting, you know, DM literary _DM, Sipmaster General, D Lee, everyone else that's in there. We have a lot of amazing Twitch streamers, content creators, writers, artists, cosplayers. It's so much fun, and it's a very positive community. And we're coming up on 100 people already. So it's always banging. It's always going off every day. You want someone to talk to and nerd out about the greatest anime or the next trailer that just dropped, or Skyrim, or why.
Or send you 20 suggestions for lo-fi, which is great.
Yep.
I was very happy.
Then definitely catch it out. Drink the Kool-Aid, join our cult, as Nelson said. It's always fun. Being said, tonight's gonna be a little different. We are gonna go ahead and recap and intro our stuff. So, sit back, relax, and interact in the chat. We like, all of our players and myself like to talk to you, say hey, introduce yourself. So if this is, you know, if you're a lurker of the show and you're interested in jumping in, feel free to, or not, put us on full screen and ignore our chat, whatever you guys want to do. But tonight you get a chance to ask questions, so you can interact tonight. Go ahead, drop questions in the chat, and our players can pick out questions from there if they don't want to. But that being said, as always, tradition, we're gonna go ahead around with our wonderful, beautiful players and do a quick little intro. You guys get to know them and possibly follow their content as well. Starting with the wonderful.
Hi, I'm Deely. I do art streams on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and now finally getting everything configured for game streams. So
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. We did Neverwinter Tuesday after a little bit of struggle with audio stuff, but that's the norm. Just trying to figure it all out. But yeah, lots of drawing, lots of fun stuff. Come hang out. It's really fun. I am, I think, 5 followers now away from 50, which is
Woo!
super great. Yay!
Do
So
it.
I really, really, really just want to make funny Twitch emotes and little channel redemption things. That's a goal of mine for a long time. So help me reach that. We're almost there. And you guys are all awesome who follow me. Thank you so much. And if you don't want to do that, that's okay. You can still come and hang out. I'm not going to hold it against you much.
If
But
you
yeah,
want to
we're
unfollow
good.
me, feel free for it. We're okay with it. I have had plenty of people follow me, so it's okay. But yeah, guys,
And,
definitely shout out. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Nope, that's it.
Oh, yeah, definitely shouting out her channel. She is amazing and fun. We have been playing Neverwinter, so if you do play the game, we did start a guild if you guys want to jump in there and but yeah, let's go over to our next one.
Hi. Hi. I'm Rachel /Pip. I stream with Mark, my husband, in Marky Gaming. I stream my art on Mondays at 3:30 CST. Lately, Mark and I have also been playing Lord of the Rings Return of the King from like 2004, which has been a great time. You can hear me sing Lord of the Rings and not mean to at all. It sounds real bad. So I'm sure all of you can look forward to that. And yeah, I also post all my art on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, at Pip400art. Also, just random, but if you see me doing this a lot, I have a pretty rose quartz and I love it right now, and for some reason all I want to do is hold it. So
Oh wow, you didn't
really
show
cool.
that to me earlier. That looks great. Wow, I guess I wasn't
I
looking
was
or
trying
something.
to like let people appreciate this and no one was looking, but everyone look at it and love it.
Looking, I just wasn't looking.
That's it.
Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, she does a really great line art and expression art. It's always fun.
Thanks.
And both of them have commission lists, so if you want to jump on with them, or do you? You do, right? Yeah. So they both can be commissioned, and I have commissioned both. They are both worth it. Definitely do it. Jump on now. Their waiting lists are getting quite long. I mean, it's like into next year at this point. Yeah, it's super fun. But yeah. So the ladies, how about the guys? The one and the only.
Hello, I am Jonathan. I play Kahurangi, and I am known as Deely's husband. Did the arrows not make it? I just missed it.
They did. They're just really faint, and I gotta. I think I'm gonna change the gray. The gray kind of.
That's okay.
Realize
That's okay.
disappears. I'm sorry. I
Just
failed
hard for
this
people to
city.
know, you know.
You know what?
It's
That's it. I
alright.
canceled the stream. We're
Alright.
shutting it down.
Yes, I'm Deely's husband. I currently don't really have socials. It's not that I'm antisocial. It's just that I'm social through my wife.
Happy life,
But
happy
I am-
mimic.
Yes, but I am glad to be here. I do enjoy this community and glad I can be here every Thursday. Enjoy seeing the art that's posted throughout the community and little interactions I get to throw in here and there as well. And I am happy to be here and excited to be able to answer questions people might have, and also just to spend time with everyone. So
Love it. And everyone send prayers and vibes to his Overwatch team right now. They're fighting the good fight. So hopefully you guys can win. I always love watching you guys. All right, last but not least, the angel from above, man in our
Or below, depending on your perspective. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark of Marky Gaming. Good to see you all. I play Zachary here on the Fates United game. And yeah, Beacons are on Sundays on our channel. Cool Lord of the Rings streams. Rachel's cool streams. Zelda. All the good stuff. Thumbs up. Two thumbs up.
I was trying to see if I could possibly flip this because I realized Discord flipped my camera. I don't know how to unflip it, and I'm not gonna try and edit on the fly. So it's backwards. It's my attempt to put Fates United, but my camera flipped it. So we'll fix it later. You know, forward, backwards, upside down, without internet. We love to bring you content. So either way, we'll make this happen. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into tonight's little session. What we are going to do, I'm going to jump into a quick little summary of what Fates United is, and we'll jump into some character intros, and then we'll go into the questions and answers too. So, if I can actually, you know what? Let's jump into actually the character intros. Let's go around one more time. You guys can explain who you are, a little recap of session 0, and then we'll jump into it. Well, let's do it in reverse order, actually. Let's change it up.
Reverse? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Since, we went around that
Mark.
way.
So starting off with my character.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Zachary. He is an ASMR. Young lad, recently turned 18. And yeah, I mean, he's 6'1". He's kind of one of those, like, like the soccer kid, if you think of a kid in like high school. Like, he looks like that. He's really like fit but skinny, and he likes to read a lot. He's very studious. He's got blonde hair, got a bit of stubble, but it's starting to grow out a little bit, and
Perfect
get a little
for new
longer.
commission art.
He also wears a scarf around his neck that is from his home of Celestia, which he has not been to in quite some time. And he was in the human city, the human capital, for a while, studying there, working there. And he was brought to the Centaurium through some crazy events that happened with the Queen. And she caught interest of him, said he should come, and it was a place to grow his skills, but he keeps to himself a lot. Definitely keeps to himself a lot. Kind of connected to Anais because she was quiet and kept to herself a lot too, and hung out with her. And yeah, became the sun affinity chosen while at the Centaurium. And he is currently level 4 sorcerer, level 1 bard. So, is that everything I need to share with them?
Satisfactory. I love it. We'll keep it the shallow stuff. We'll keep everything else for the game. Perfect. All right, Jonathan.
Hello. Again, I'm Jonathan. I play Kahurangi. You can see his image in the lower corner right there. Image art for this particular one created by Pip herself, just so you all know. And he is the 7th of 8 children. And he is a little bit of a odd one amongst his family. He was, for those who haven't followed, a quick recap of things that have been learned is before he was born, he had died. It was just going to be a stillbirth, and through some ritual that had occurred, he was brought back. And so when he was born looking mostly similar to the rest of his family, but his eyes in particular carried a specific deep green hue of what's known as the Kahurangi stone. And that is where his namesake comes from, is from that very stone. Kahurangi is now the age of 22 years. He recently only learned about this thing that had occurred to him before his birth from his mother and his father during a ritual that takes place amongst his people that chooses the successor of the next chieftain of the village, where he was found out to be that next successor, which was strange because traditionally he is not the one who should have been there. Yet the ritual was the one that called him out in this scenario. And so he's trying to figure himself out now in regards to where his role lies in the world, because he has changed a very different role and set in his life from being a sailor and a soldier for his people to now needing to all of a sudden learn what it means to lead and to guide people. And all of that's happening at the same time that he still is dealing with some challenges from warfare where he lost somebody very dear to him. Also amongst family problems, because, you know, D&D characters. Also real life, but D&D characters. So, that is Kakurangi.
All right, Rachel, you play.
Hello. Okay, so I play Anais. She is a elf. She is a 3 levels ranger, 2 level tempest cleric. She is 4'11", pretty small overall. She has very puffy brown hair, probably down past her waist, I think, is how I draw it. And darker brown skin-ish, mid brown skin. Very, very deep brown eyes, and they're very big. So I think she looks more like she's 12 really than 18, but she is 18. Even better, so people can underestimate her until she kicks their butt. No, but so she usually is seen wearing kind of more like, I don't want to say desert looking attire, but that's about the only way I can describe it at the moment. She also has a glaive, which is her weapon that she can turn into a bow with that cool like bonus action thing. It's a good time. Yeah, so my session 0 was essentially Anais was wandering around in the desert. This was in her 2nd month in the wasteland of what was the Elven lands, surviving on her own, very much almost feral at that point, just because it had been 2 months, so she was starving, just kind of barely making it, not really having much on her. When essentially her family had been ritually sacrificed, and the only reason why she made it out was when it was her turn. She was last when it was her turn, and a storm came and it carried her away. It kind of separated her from her would-be killers, and she survived, but was still in the plains for 2 months, kind of hiding from the people that were out to finish the job. During the session 0, she encountered a man who was a very good friend of her father, named Bardicdice, who he thought she was dead, and he was actually going to hunt down her family's murderers. But when finding her, they both decided to team up and to take down, find and take down her family's killers. There was some murder that also happened in that session 0 as well. From Anais, her first kill for one of her family's murderers that they tracked down. What?
The notch 1 on the belt.
Notch 1 on the belt. She also has taken a vow of silence. So she has not spoken or uttered a sound and does not plan to anytime soon. And I think that's about it when it comes to session 0 stuff. Oh yeah, and Bardicdice basically told her, like, you can stay with me and we can go to the Centaurium together. And so that was her motivation for going to the Centaurium.
Perfect. And last but not least this time.
Hello, my name is Meikai. I am a tiefling. I have horns that only go up to here, and they're silver, and hair is silver, and I have 3 dot tattoos underneath my eyes, and they are a symbol of my engagement to June, who was the prince of my country, and we were married, and then he cheated on me, and I accidentally killed him. Whoops. And then I
Sorry
was,
about Sorry.
I killed him because, yeah, that was an accident. And then I was forced into exile. And my hair and horns were turned silver. They were black before, and now they're silver. And I spent the last 2.5 years traveling around. And I ended up going to New Organia and saving this girl from potential kidnappers. And he was taken care of safely. But this mysterious hooded figure named Ascarius wanted me to come to have a rendezvous with my father, who I hadn't seen in a long time, and so I went and saw him, but I also saw the king of Hanazuka, June's father, and that was awkward, and he told me that I had to be the representative of Hanazuka because some others died. So that gave me great confidence. And the next day, I was in a very awkward wagon ride with Zachary and told him that I helped his sister, so maybe that won me some points. And yeah, now I'm at the Centaurium, and a lot of stuff's happened, but we're not talking about that yet, right?
Not yet. We'll get into it.
Yeah, that's where I am. Oh, I'm like also like 5'2" with the horns, and I have a tail and long hair. So
Perfect. So those are our players, their characters, and this heroic tale. I'm gonna actually go through the intro that I actually did in the beginning, though it's slightly different. For a little, thanks for everyone showing up tonight and hearing this. Originally, the intro to this campaign, obviously this is a homebrew campaign that I had come up with, and this story was originally told from the view of the human side. So it was a little skewed when we first started. Throughout certain events since then, it has been revealed a little bit of what has actually happened, and without a unreliable narrator, as it would. All night, aren't I? Is restart the music. We might change our tracks a little later. But that being said, Fates United is presented in the land of Organia. Once now, a century ago, Organia was once a united land. Freshly new from creation, this land was made wondrous. Luscious green landscapes, mountainsides, and lakes, all brimming with attributes. Brimming with satisfaction with the creation he had made, the Ancient One, a deity of unimaginable power, born of a land forgotten now to time and history, created the first sources of divine magic, light and darkness. This new magic gave life to the lands, filling the continent with magical powers, giving life to the dirt, the plants that grew from it. From these magics, from this light fractured and was born. From these magics was fractured and born 6 more magical sources, the primordial source: sun, moon, stars, earth, water, and sky were made from the images of light and dark, and made into beings of powerful magic that actually walked among the land like divine type. They filled the land with life, magical creatures to soar through the sky, swim under the seas, and walk majestically through the land. From these 8 sources of magic, humans and the primordial races were born, living among the primordials among the affinities, make it a little easier, to learn and rule upon the land. Peace reigned for hundreds of years. These races born from magic created many kingdoms and artifacts that made many advancements in civilization under the direct tutelage of the affinities. Then rising from the shadows and the follies of primordial races, corrupted magic began to be corruption. An unyielding and dark magic born from taking the magical essence of creatures, other organic life, and twisting it to one. This darkness spread quickly, corrupting even the holiest of devotees today. This corruption overtook the lands and struck a fatal blow to the ancient. A wise old mage by this time who had often took the form of large dragons. The affinities united, and together were able to sacrifice their avatars to back this corruption, only temporarily. In their last moments of their magic, before they were blasted beyond the mortal veil, they offered up their powers and gave them over to champions, chosens, different races that would rise up to be guardians of this land against the fight. Pillars of hope and protection among the people. This corruption, many feared, mortal, defeated only to rise again in different forms. A man, a beast, a monster. No one knew what face this corruption would have next. Over the years, many times the Chosen fought. Sometimes they won. They were defeated. But every time a new generation of Chosens would arise, each time to meet corruption. And again, the cycle would continue. Until 56 years ago, a human champion, Chosen, rose and seemingly slayed the beast, conquering the darkness once and for all. So he thought. As a false peace fell upon the kingdoms once more, he rose and ruled as king. Those unbeknown to him, the beast had corrupted the minds of the newest act of corruption to rise again in victory over the primordial chosen. In one last sacrificial ritual, the primordial chosens gave their power to try and slay corruption and stop it from corrupting the lands, stopping the reign of the false. This act, though, seemingly the betrayal of the chosens against this champion chosen, the last straw to the people of the lands, as a huge civil war broke out upon the kingdoms of 3 long years of bloodshed and war ravished until finally, in a agreed to banish the primordial races out of the human lands and to relocate all humans on their half of the continent. And so, with the Great Divide and the Exodus, peace had reigned for 20 years. The exile of so many to new homes, new lands, new lives. Through the minds and the wills of the people, peace has finally returned. Or so it seemed. Our story had began, as you heard, with each one of our chosens, unbeknownst, unawakened, living their own lives, running from their own tragedies, but all seemingly invited and brought together at a location called the Centurium. The Centurium is a sort of school or place of peace and safety in this land that is not owned by anybody, but protected and meant to be a meeting ground for peace, that all the different races could send ambassadors, negotiators, skilled warriors, people that could come and learn and be able to work together to maintain this peace, stop darkness. Through their time there, few of their pasts began showing up, and they attempted to unite and help out people of Rosewood in many different times of getting to know the different representatives that were there. But one by one, Anais in the crypt behind the Centurium, Kahu and Makai in the water temple above, and Zachary being tempted by shadow revealed by light, and were each one by one awakened and realized that they are now the new this. starting one by one. They had eventually found ways to work together, find a ritualistic stone at a volcano. Though while they were there, Anais' past quickly caught up, and among trying to uncover what had happened to her family, assassins had actually attempted to attack her. But the other ones had helped beat it off, and in turn, imprisoned this attacker at the capital in one of its extra-dimensional prisons. Many different things happened, but the main thing that has now happened to them is while they're at the Centaurium, they had acted in different classes, worked on skills, and had different skirmishes, non-lethal fights against each other. But unfortunately, in this last one, it turned deadly, with our good old Meikai's newly found love, or at least fling, find out, unfortunately being assassinated by a knight with a skull helm, who had walked back through a portal right at the same time as some sort of corruption or dark beast attacked the Centaurium and has ravished it. Unfortunately, Bardicdice was in a tower that was crushed and potentially quite injured, but the rest of the Chosens, now fully facing corruption for the first time, have fully awakened, and to everyone else are starting to be revealed we are as chosen. And that is where we are as we end this first arc. And getting into tonight's Q&A after our little long-winded recap, I apologize, but I just wanted everyone who has not been able to see and catch up, get a little taste of kind of everything that's... My question is, first off, how different, and this is to each one of you, how different are some of the expectations you had for who your character was starting off to who you know them to? So, what we're going to do for tonight is roll a d20. Whoever's highest gets to go first, and we'll just kind of go round robin. And that's actually how we're going to do the different questions as well. I like to be competitive with it.
2.
2, 4.
18.
Let's get a 6. Oh.
8.
Oh, there we go.
Kaharangi, it is.
Question was, how's my character now versus the expectations I had when I went in?
Yeah, more about how your expectations of who Kahu would be before we started the game, and now ending the first arc, now you've got to know who he is a little bit more, get to play him,
Yeah, I think when I was first coming in, I was going to play him off a little bit more, I don't want to say brash or brazen, but a little bit more forward about things.
Mhm.
And I think it was the moment where we started off in the canoe on the water with his brother, which is all the way in session 0, very beginning. I was like, no, I'm going to go this route instead. And then I started just kind of trying to roll more into he's a fighter, yes, but because of how his past has been, I like this idea of him being somebody who's intelligent from thinking, right? He's very philosophical, intelligent type of a character. And I actually rolled him up pretty decently, and I wasn't sure how to work the intelligence super well, because I've talked to Dealey about this a few times, but I didn't expect him to be super good at reading and things like that, because standard fighter type stuff. And I kind of feel that way, he can read because of he is in a family that would have some literature and stuff available. But really, it was ever since the session 0 where I'm no, I think he's more intelligent and connected to his philosophy and his thinking, and trying to understand the world and understand things in general. So that's a little bit more of a different path than I think I'd originally planned for him when I was first designing the character out.
That's really cool. So some of that actually started with that first scene. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's go, and just kind of naturally followed it.
Yeah.
That's actually really fun. I like that. Cool. We had an 8, we had a 2, right? And then 4? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Zachary. Mark.
So with Zach, I don't think there's too big of a difference from what I expected going in to kind of how it's played out. Probably the only thing that I could really think of with this that is maybe a little different is, I mean, he's built very charismatic, and he's supposed to be very good with people. But I think just with the atmosphere of kind of how things have gone down, he has pulled into himself a lot and not really connected with people. So, I mean, he just has major trust issues right now. So that aspect has been making it so that that side of him, which is a great strength of his, has not really been used in this first part. So
Is that something you as a player have a hard time with? Or is it something like, no, I'm excited for letting him go through this and then having that evolve later on?
I mean, we'll see how things go with it. He'll open up, I'm sure, at some point. But I think right now he's very on guard, and there's reasons for it. So,
do you find that frustrating though as a player, like on not the character side but as a player side, that it's like that? Or are you kind of leaning into it?
I'm just letting it go where it goes.
Fun, I like it. Kind of like Ren in his the guilt thing. I kind of do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing that. Alright then, the other half, Rachel.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say she is tons more different than I imagined her. I guess I have two things, I guess. Number one, she's a lot nerdier than I thought she'd be. Like,
Really?
yeah, she's a lot more awkward and nerdy. I didn't see that from her, but essentially what I realized after is she's kind of like a homeschooled introvert that had something horrible happen to her, and now she's combine that with a bunch of rage. So it's a weird combo that I didn't see intermeshing, but it's kind of fun, so I don't mind. Yeah, and in general, I don't know if you guys ever do this, but if you think of a concept of something that might be really like a bad situation, like for a character, you think, oh yeah, that's probably really bad. But you don't realize the full extent of how bad it must be for that person until it starts being played out. Kind of like, if you, even like with the whole, Sir Carr dying, like the concept of that is like, that's sad, but then once it's in there, you're like, that is so sad. So that's kind of what happened with Anais, I feel like. It's like, I knew the whole time the concept of her character and like what happened to her would be really sad, but I didn't realize how much it would dictate everything she is, right down to even how she just tunes out of everything because she's just so out of it all the time. So I didn't expect, I guess, the emotionally being rocked as hard as she did, I guess.
I can think of a specific scene where I think that broke through and became obvious to the audience as well. What I want to ask you first though, do you feel like there was a moment where that happened where you knew it, she knew it, but you both kind of like, wow, I'm processing this now.
I can't think of a specific scene. I just remember there was a point where I think Zach was talking to her about something, and when she was gonna answer, and it was something about her family, like I almost was on the verge of tears, like just instantly, and I was like, oh, where is this coming from, type of thing. So I feel like those moments probably sort of started being obvious. But
as an audience member like me, because I'm a fan of watching you guys go, to me it was the library. You had fathers for the first time.
Yeah,
I think because like for so long it was internalized as like that ready to fight your flight, but then that was the first time that it like came out to the other players.
Yeah,
that's really fun.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I agree.
Nice. Deely. Oh, and John, since you won the roll, you will be asking the next question, the next person that rolls. Hi. Oh, just want to prepare you for that. If you could have a question ready. Deely.
So, oh man, I think Meikai turned out way more awkward. mostly because of my nerves, to be honest. Like, she was supposed to be calm and like collected, and then have like this super sadness underneath. But which is funny because that's kind of like what Kahu has turned out to be, right? But because I was personally nervous about being on stream, it turned into her kind of being awkward and not as like, I mean, she had her queen training for years, right? And so she wasn't nervous to talk. She grew up being like a leader in the community and going to be for her people, and I was going to play her as this kind of like regal sort of not stoic, but just like regal, a little distant and stuff. And she was gonna have, because I had a couple of characters, specific character traits that I had in mind from like other stuff I had read in like comics and other things.
Been
and
more
so,
like Alana then in that, or in that.
I think
instance?
so. Yeah, I
Interesting.
think that was more in my head of this like, you know, straight backed, more straight laced, but sad, harder to crack, open, very like more private person, guarded and all that. But yeah, she's a lot more awkward. But I think what got to me was just like how everybody was like approaching her was kind of, it just like all our character interactions kind of like threw her off.
Right.
Of just like, oh, I don't know how to respond to this. This is awkward. Like she hadn't dealt with that in such a long time, you know, and not really being around people for an extended period. And so all this stuff kind of came out, and like where she is now, like, not like her literal state of mind at the moment aside, like, I think she's on a better road, and she'll probably be a little like she's not gonna like completely diverge from the same path I was thinking, but I think I'll be able to like correct it just a little bit, not forced, just correct it,
Yeah.
which is kind of fun. But yeah,
I think it's really
So-
hard for like a stream-based game too, where that has that other factor in it.
yeah,
I know Ren acted a little different on Ren, and how I like heard him in my mind. I was gonna play him almost like you said, that I had a different version of him that was more like an older character I played. But then
Mhm.
having just like it like roll out in game, okay, well, he's a different kid. All right, let's just jump into it.
yeah,
Cries a lot more than I thought he was. That's for sure. That's really fun. No, I love seeing that with Meikai, because like that's something I know that's there in her. We've talked about that with her background and things like that. So
yeah.
it's interesting.
Oh, and I
to
was
see that.
not expecting her to be open to a relationship either. That definitely was not in like any of the cards for a long time potentially.
Don't
so-
worry, we'll definitely jump into that one a little bit for sure.
So I just wanted to
We'll
say
deep
that
dive
because
it.
that's definitely the side.
Kind of the big surprise. Yeah, for sure. Sassy Fire, thank you so much, Brittany, for the resub.
Cheers.
Love having you
Thanks.
part of us. You're the bestest. All right, John, with how we're gonna do this, rolling off, the four of us will roll, and whoever's the highest, if you want to direct a question to them, we'll do it that way. And kind of just, or if you want, you can always choose to direct it to everyone, but just that person will go down.
Okay.
We'll roll off. And then what we'll do is we'll keep on rolling until everyone's gone once.
I got a natural 20.
Nat 20! Well, I think who's going next?
18.
If we roll double, we have to decide whose dex is better.
Right? Yeah. You gotta run around the house and get back in your seat first.
There you
That's
Mm-hmm.
Mark, did you roll a nat 20?
No, I got a 17.
Okay, okay. So yeah. Dealey. But John, do you have a question for Dealey or for everybody?
I will direct one directly to Dealey for this one. Question I have for her is, how do you feel Meikai's state of mind has changed from session 0 to the latest sessions?
Well, it was bad, and then it was okay, and now it's bad again. So
You can elaborate.
she's kind of like.
Okay.
We
It
got
was-
that.
it was depressed, but like I don't want to be like dark humor. It was like normal amount of depression. Like, that sounds terrible. Nobody should, but like, you're not in a good situation, but you're trying to make the best of it, and you know, kind of just making it by. And then it shifted, you know, like with her making friends and talking and actually like eating good food and having like a regular regimen again and having a safe place. Like, her state of mind became better and more stable as it went on, which was great. And then obviously now it's kind of a little shattered again, but it did get better, which was good. I think she was starting to like to people, so that was yeah,
So elaborating on that,
good.
what was her state of mind coming from years being an outcast, like running through the land, and then
Well,
now
that's what I'm saying.
finding a
That's what I
home
was
there?
saying. Like, it's a depression thing where like she fought, you know, went through all the stages of grief, but like it took so long to get through that. And you know, 2.5 years, you know, after any kind of tragedy, like that's a long amount of time, but that's also so short, right? And so her state of mind was kind of just, again, resigning to the, well, this is how it's going to be the rest of my life. Like, you know, here I am, I guess, cool, you know, not really caring super one way or another, not really having any focus in her thoughts so much other than like just literally day to day, just going day by day by day. So
Yeah, I'm interested to see her state of mind going forward. It's going to be
yeah, but now yeah.
very interesting. Do you want to speak anything on how she is now, or are you just going to let that kind of play out?
Well, I didn't know if any of the other questions pertain to that.
They will a little
or
bit,
not.
but I mean, the census directly related it to state of mind.
That's true. Right now it's not good. I mean, you think of any kind of tragedy or anything that, I mean, I don't want to like make anybody sad, but you think about like that kind of trauma level. And I got super into it too because it just like sideswiped me, but it's fine. It's in the best ways. But that
So
did help
tempted to
me.
warn you and just be like, girl, you're hooked.
No,
I didn't
you're
sink in
good.
This bad, like 2 weeks right into it, and I was like,
I think it helped me jump into her mindset more because she's not paying attention to anything. She's not listening really a lot to people. She's just short thoughts, simple. Feelings start to come up, thoughts start to come up. Nope, just shove it down. Don't deal with it. Don't deal with it. But yeah, so her state of mind right now is really fragile. But she knows that she has to keep going. So yeah, it's kind of that trudge through and kind of being a little catatonic, Walking Dead sort of. You're just doing stuff. Okay, let's follow this person. You know, she sees Anais walk. Okay, I guess I have to follow, like that kind of stuff. So
she's ready for more DM testing. Is that what you're saying? Or some more stuff on her?
No, I mean, I guess you can.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, you will be next since you won the D roll. And then the rolls will be Rachel and Mark. Yeah, it's not me. I can tell that much.
7.
Maybe.
6.
Wow, okay.
Hey.
Cool. So you can ask a Rachel question, or if you want to throw one to everyone.
Okay. Let's see.
You guys get that. I don't
wanted.
have to say that every time, right? Like everyone questions are in the pot if you want to do it.
Yeah, everybody's kind of thing. Yeah.
And chat as well. If you have a question that you want asked that you haven't submitted, feel free to just throw it in chat. And if I think it's a good
we'll
one,
try
I
to
will put
see
it
it.
in our list and have something they can choose.
This is for everybody, including Mike too. I mean, you can always like on your DM's perspective, a thing that you liked about the Centaurium and a thing that you didn't like your character.
I hated everything.
For the characters.
I know I created it, but it's the worst.
And then Mike, like things that you liked and disliked about.
So it was the stuff the characters liked.
Yeah,
our
the characters liked.
about and disliked. Okay.
I'm curious about players as well. If you want to roast it as well, because I know there are
Yeah.
things about the storm I would do different next time. So if that's something you want to focus on characters, but also as players too, how you felt about it being
Mhm.
curious. But anyone want to go first? Want to round robin this?
You can just round robin it. Start with Rachel and go around it. She won, right?
Each won the role, so she goes first.
I did win. Yeah, so Anais did not have many feelings about the Centaurium. It was just kind of a place for her to be. She saw it as a way to train her skills, especially because she started off with none whatsoever. So, she felt like, well, I obviously am too weak to be able to do this on my own and accomplish my goal of killing Lytus. So this is the place where I can do that. So there wasn't really things she liked about it, and there wasn't really things she disliked about it. She was just there to accomplish her goal, and that was it. So there wasn't tons of feelings. As a player, I like the idea of a school for sure.
Tell me
What?
the truth. You guys can tell me the truth. It's okay. I can take it.
I liked the idea of a school, and I liked that there was a bunch of NPCs that you could get to know. I think for me, though, it was hard because I was playing a character I was just actually telling Mark this. I was playing a character that is intentionally trying to stay off the radar and not draw attention to herself at all. So it wasn't actually a good environment for me as a player to even be like, I love talking to NPCs. Oh my gosh, if you guys couldn't tell that from Beacon's Aura, I talk to like every NPC ever, but I'm playing a character that can't talk to NPCs, and I can't even think of good reasons as to why. So that was hard for me as a player to just not engage in what Mike had set up. And usually, so that meant I was usually sitting there a lot, which was kind of like, but it was my character, my choice, it's fine. It's just
fine.
It's how
the
it worked
environment.
out.
It's okay. Oh, that's cool.
It's Anais being paranoid. So.
Awesome. Oh, Mark, want to go next?
All right. So Zach, what he liked about the Centaurium is, there was more access to knowledge and things like that he could kind of figure out. He also, is interested in growing his skills, and that's where the whole Sun Affinity thing happened. So, that was big for him. Disliked, I think kind of from night one, he felt like he was just kind of thrown into stuff, though, that he didn't really have interest in doing.
Yeah.
It's like, fight these things, and then there's a Centaurium skirmishes, and not to mention his girlfriend's ex-girlfriend, whatever at the time, just shows up, and then being away from his sisters too, just all of that kind of compiled right away was rough starting for him. As a player, I think it was a nice kind of way to ease into things, and it was very protected and kind of like you have the training wheels on to learn the world and kind of learn how things are going to be, so that helped as a player. And then what I didn't like, and we talked about this, Mike, is just I feel like because of how much freedom there was, it made it difficult to connect as a party, and we were all scattered kind of all over the place so much that I think it created an environment that was like easy to just kind of, I'm gonna go do a solo thing, and we didn't grow as a group. So.
Splitting the party became the norm in a way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. We got back. Shoom, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Let me chase down our players, figure out what's going on. No, that's a great, that's a very great insight. I love it. Perfect. John.
Kahu, I think what he liked about Centaurium was an unlimited buffet of food, which he could partake from.
And the chef. Oh no.
I know. I think Kahu disliked that part for sure.
Oh.
He's very sad about that part. And I think he liked the opportunity to get to meet new people and meet new ways of thinking, and to kind of see even more what's out there in the world. I mean, he's kind of been either on his island, or I mean, he's been on ships and
Great
been
point.
around, but he never really like went far from the ship when he was like in ports and stuff like that.
That's true. Yeah. That's a
So,
that's
like-
that's a great.
Yeah, so like the big towers, like seeing them inside and like in person was like stuff he, there's a lot for him to take in when he was at the Centaurium, a lot more than he's ever really taken in before. So he was just trying to do everything he could to kind of absorb everything he could. I think one of the things he really, really liked about the Centaurium is I think he really liked learning how to blacksmith.
Oh, okay.
I think him having an opportunity to learn how to create something was a really big deal for
Is that
him.
something you had wanted to do from the beginning, or is that something that the opportunity rose and
Well, it was
minus it being part of Rune Knight, I guess?
yeah. So like it was part of Rune Knight, so I was like, yeah, I kind of want to do something to make sure I do some blacksmithing. But then like his reasoning behind it kind of developed as we got to that point of where he like wishes he could be a creator and he feels like he's a destroyer, kind of a thing. It's kind of like the dynamic inside of his mind. So he really liked being able to do that. I think things he disliked was when he would try to like talk with people and they would ignore him. I'm thinking particularly Zach a little bit. Usually Zach did okay listening to Kahu when Kahu did talk to him though. But I'm also thinking of I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I think it was
right?
Yeah, well Jonah was good because he had a chance to talk with Jonah and talk about books and stuff.
No,
Yeah,
that's
it
Joe
was-
Arston.
Oh,
The
Joe Arston,
paladin was
okay.
Jonah,
Okay.
but she's
Thank
the one
you.
that like I don't think has had a single interaction. Anybody. Yeah.
Well, I tried to interact with her and she
You
like
did.
cold shouldered me hard.
Yeah.
And like
Not having it.
Kahu had a hard time like you can't even talk to people? Come on.
Right.
Like
yeah.
he
Why
had a
you're
bit of a
here,
rough
Yeah.
rough time with that. And he also disliked the feeling of like he disliked this feeling of not being able to trust everyone.
Right.
So like as that kind of introduced itself further more into the game, he didn't like that feeling.
Especially being so used to being in like with the soldiers and have.
Right. Like you're with the people you fight with, you got to trust them because they're the ones that watch your back. You got to trust them, and they trust you. And now he's in a scenario where there's like this political infighting happening here and there, and who's important to doing what. And he's like,
But what about as a player? Is there what are things that
as a player, I liked the opportunity that I had to kind of use the time to mold my character and like give reasoning to some degree of stuff. Like I knew my character was going to be a fighter. I honestly knew I was going to be a Rune Knight going forward, but it gave me time to be like, well, why is he a Rune Knight? And like the blacksmithing kind of just was a way to be like, oh, I can bleed this into the character automatically. And like there was reasoning behind why I picked up my 4th level capabilities. Like I knew that was something I wanted to train while I was there. And so like it was a really good way for me to like build the first 5 levels of my character, I feel, and people to see like why it progressed to that and not just like, oh, we're here.
right? Cool. Neely.
Yeah. I think Meikai really like the stability of being somewhere. I think she liked being in that kind of like school-ish environment. She liked Car. She
Eventually. You hated Carr in the beginning.
I did hate him in the beginning,
So-
that's true.
Good to
But
remember
no,
that part too.
I think it slowly developed of her being okay being around people. So like she liked that it was. I mean, she wasn't trusting at first of it either, but I think she grew to like that and that stability. She liked the pocket cookies.
It became one of my
Um,
favorite things.
I
Like,
know
it just kept
that
on
is.
saying at first, I was like, what is happening with pocket cookies? And now I'm
She just always
like,
has things on her.
Yeah.
Now it's a thing. I think what she disliked was that, especially in the beginning, just like the stairs and like being in close proximity to a bunch of like a bunch of like important people in their
Right.
own cities, right? Because of her reputation, the stuff that followed her.
Stairs, people looking at you. Okay, I thought you meant like literal stairs. And I'm like,
I
I don't
know,
know
I
what
did
is she
too. I'm like,
talking
what is-
about.
you
What
guys-
stairs?
You guys didn't never pick that up. She just hates stairs. She hates
took the
climbing.
elevator every time.
Yeah.
Like, what is
Um,
happening?
Yeah, stairs. She didn't like people staring at her. She didn't
Oh,
like.
man,
She didn't
sorry.
like that
So
negative
sorry.
attention. It's okay. The guards, because it did make her nervous because, you know, it's that lack of trust and stuff. So she really didn't like that at first, but then she felt like it kind of eased up and she's like, well, you know, I've already told my story to the people here mostly and they're okay with me. Like, we're okay. So I mean that kind of became into went from a dislike to a like. As a player, I don't know, I really liked just kind of the setup, like Mark was saying, like having kind of like a protected space was really nice. Somewhere to kind of like grow and develop the character a little bit. I think the thing that I didn't like as much was just that I had to think about what my character was doing. Honestly, like I'm like, I don't know if she's studying. Like it was
I don't
honestly
want to
hard.
ever
Like,
think about and make choices for my character ever.
like I really like that you had the system up, right? But like it was so
Yeah.
hard for me to decide what to
Right,
do,
right.
right? So it wasn't like a, and this isn't even like a, oh my gosh, I hated this. This was just like it for my brain. It was
weird,
hard to
yeah.
be like, crap, like, yay, but I don't know what to do. So it's more of that and not like, oh, this is dumb. It was like purely just like, there's so many things though. And like I would think about it like all week and then make a decision like right before the stream. So yeah, I think that was really the only stuff, but I thought it was really fun and enjoyable and fun to kind of see people develop too. I think the awkwardness was 10 out of 10. So
Cool. Yeah, for me as creating the Centaurium, I mean, the whole inspiration was I wanted something totally unique from the tavern meetup. I wanted a place where you guys could be controlled, where it felt like a smaller city, and then go into a larger campaign. Because I know like so many, I've done this before, and I've seen other DMs talk about like, you try and create too much too quick, it's overwhelming, it's confusing, it doesn't have like a direct theme. So like I wanted something small. I wanted to create the world so it felt big, but there's a lot of like parts of this world that hasn't been explored yet, even like in my planning, that was left intentionally unwritten because I was like, all right, I want to start them here, continue the storyline, see how it works in game, and then slowly build out as you guys you write the story and I kind of write back. So that was the original intent of it. I think what I disliked was exactly what Mark you were saying, was I did make it where I think you guys were a little bit too on your own. Whereas looking back, I originally was thinking about like Fire Emblem things, like maybe you four are one house and you're against the other houses, or like it's not even against, but you're just divided into other houses. And then it got to the point where I was like, once I put all the representatives there and I didn't want to overdo too many, I only had like 12, and I'm like, well, that's stupid. They're all just gonna live together. Like, it's not gonna be 4, 4, and 4 or something like that. So I think if I ever went back and did it again, I don't mind the Centaurium aspect, but I would do it in a way where you all already were a group. You found a somehow that you guys got connected or were forced to work together, and then slowly, as you're at the Centaurium, maybe have rotating NPCs come in and out, or maybe start with a few and then have some come even later than I did. I feel like I rushed them all in at once and was kind of like, okay, get to know whoever you want. And so that was kind of something that I think I would do differently. Especially, and like you said with the the mechanics of what you guys were learning. My original intent was the Centaurium to go a lot longer, not episode wise, but time wise in game. And I love the pacing of the game and how it's turned out, but that's definitely something that I decided to do the opposite. Was, all right, I'm gonna let the episodes go longer and get to 30. This is like, I think I was planning on like 10 or 15 having the Centaurium arc ending, you know, so it's gone double what I thought. But I also thought it'd be like a year in game, that we'd skip months at a time and allow you guys to be like, oh yeah, we've settled. But then you miss out on what you guys are going through. You'd be one person this game and then be a different person. Like, oh, I've had a month to mourn Car or process your dad. And, you know, did I not figure out anything about my sisters or anything like that? So I'm like, all right, I don't want that. So as you guys were being really smart and Zachary found out about the chosen thing super quick, and like you guys were kind of questioning, I was like, you know what, they're gonna awaken a lot sooner, and let's just shorten this arc. I'm fine with the episodes laying where they are, but I'll just shorten the time frame. So yeah, I think ultimately I'd layer it better if I did it. But yeah, great question.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Rachie, winner of the roll.
Hi, I picked a question. It's actually to everybody, and it's. But we already rolled, and I won.
Yeah. Now, me and Mark need a roll.
Oh, I already picked my question.
No, that's fine. You can have the question. We just need to roll.
Okay, roll.
Like, I want to go now. You guys can stop.
18.
All right, Mark's next. So Mark will.
Okay, so you can answer first. Okay. It is this one Amara wrote a couple days ago, and I really liked it. So it's for Mike too, but for the players, what is your self-insert trait you and your character share? And then on Mike's end, what NPC is kind of your self-insert, or at least the one I guess you would relate to the most?
Cool. Mark. This is a tough question.
I guess I think kind of what Zach and I have a crossover for is Zach's mind is always going and my mind is always going. Like, I'm always thinking about stuff and I got like a million things going through my mind all day. And I think that's how Zach is all the time too, is just he's always thinking and always kind of looking into things and processing information and going through theories in his head, and that would be probably a crossover.
Not accepting easy answers type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, just questioning everything and thinking about everything and dissecting it. So I do that all day.
I bet. Anyone want to answer next?
I can answer.
Go for it.
I would say I don't have a ton in common with Anais, first of all. The only two things I could think of was, one, she is an oldest sibling, and so a lot of the things she does when it comes to younger kids is something I would do. Like, you know, you just, if you're an oldest sibling, a lot of times you just get into oldest sibling mode, even if you see a kid younger than you or whatever, especially at her age. And I guess the only other trait I could think of was that we both have in common is Anais and I both are willing to play the long game. And what I mean by that is me and her both do not care if it takes a really long time to accomplish a goal, as long as we're taking steps towards it. It could take 10 years. I don't care. I'm willing to take that much time. So is she. You know, that's why she's not rushing around trying to kill Lytus right now. You know, right. She's willing to, if it takes 10 years, it takes 10 years, whatever. So, yeah, that's the two things we have in common.
Nice. I'll make
Sorry, I had to turn it on. I would say I actually have a good bit with her, which is funny because it's also with my other characters I make too. I would say her wanting to make friends and connections, but also hesitating is like a big thing that I also do. Like, it's that like longing to and then hesitating, but then like as soon as something happens to like open, it's like there. Because that was the 2 weeks, you know, when we were leading up to the other skirmish, Meikai opened up a lot. And I know that we didn't really get to RP that, and that's fine, but like I just had wanted to mention like she's playing her instrument in front of people. She's talking to people. She's trying to like be more open. And I think falling in love really quickly. I know I've told this to like some I like just those like quick crushes, but then like staying with that person and seeing until like something either is go or not, and then I'm like, oh, okay. So I wasn't planning on that, but I feel like that happened, and then her being kind of secretly stubborn about some things, which I'm not a super stubborn person, but there's like some things I get really stubborn on, and so I think that kind of like passed down to her too. Yeah, John's a quick crush. By quick I mean like, you know, a decade, and then I'm just you have 3 years left. No, but yeah, so I'd say I have a good amount of traits with her, but a lot of differences too. So I think it's kind of like a 50-50 mix. I did take a personality test for her, and she's the extrovert to my introvert, funny enough. So we're the exact same, except she's an ENFJ and I'm an INFJ.
Huh.
So it's kind of funny, and I wanted to do that to kind of help play her out, and so, but it's funny how like that,
And
yeah, it hasn't yet, but it
Yeah.
will. So yeah, I don't have Zachary's charisma quite, but I do. I mean, it is a 16, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's it's higher, so yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I think that's something I'm really excited for, to see Meikai and Zachary's evolution now going forward, and how I know Anais and Kaku have had that a little bit of character growth so far, but I think the two of them are primed to have that environment start fostering that going.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, I think. Let's see, my trait that's similar, most similar to Kahu.
Looks good
Probably
without a
s-
shirt, blacksmithing. Sure.
I'd say it's probably his desire to try to understand. Because I feel like this happened to me like when I was like 18, 19-ish, or maybe it was like 19, 20-ish, but it was those early like 20s. I tried to like get in this mindset of, you know, if someone's angry at me, sometimes I get angry back and everything. But then when I have a moment to like step back, I try to like think to myself like, well, why might they be angry? What challenges might they be facing? Like try to understand like where they're coming from their side of things. And I feel like Kahu does have that same kind of mindset, which is why he's the one guy who
Wanting to
hugged the
hug
darkness.
Shadow. Yeah, I'm like, that was the threw me in the D. I'm like, okay, you just hugged the bad guy. I don't know what to do with this, but okay. Pat, get off of me! Like, that was super cool. That was the moment where I saw, okay, Kahu's the empathetic one, and I'm super interested in that. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think that's kind of like the main thing I brought into him that I think I try to do as well in life.
For me, it's so tough because I think as a DM, you first start thinking of the NPC, but there's always that bleed over, at least for me, of little aspects of me that go into every NPC anyway. I just can't help it. There's always just windows of me that through any character I play. I don't play non-charismatic NPCs or PCs usually. But the two that I think Liara might end up doing it. We'll see, because it's more like a Veery character. But the two
Yeah.
so far that I feel have the biggest self-inserts. They don't really have. I'd say maybe the narrator's the closest self-insert character that like me, Michael, as like a meta DM can talk to my audience. But as a like characteristics of myself, Carlos has that like, hey guys, hey, what's up? Like, you don't know me, but I'm gonna sit down and can we be friends? Like, hey, I know you're from that group and you're from this group, but let's all just play cards together and do something. So like, and it's always been something for me that like is always usually seen as like, that's weird. And like, so like how Carlos was at first, was kind of like shunned as like, okay, like it's a tough thing to get used to, but then over time you're like, oh wow, they have better intentions and they're not as annoying as I thought they were in the beginning. So that's something that I relate with as well, just being like, oh yeah, hello, all right, how you doing? Like in every moment, I will dive in, and you don't want to talk to me, but I'll talk to you, and you know, we'll form a friendship eventually.
You will be my friend.
You will be my friend. I mean, Renan has that a little bit too. So like that's little pieces of me that comes out. The other one though, I think the big one is Bardicdice. Being there to listen to people, talk to people, and not ever want to be like, hey, I want to steal your spotlight, but I'm gonna sit back and let you protect you in a way where you feel like you can be comfortable to figure out whatever you need. And that's Bardicdice. That's exactly why I wrote Bardicdice, was for Anais, was like, okay, here's a mute character who's gone, like you said, going through trauma, and she needs someone there that she can talk to, quite literally can talk to give her that opportunity to grow as a character. And so that was really fun to kind of write that, especially after going through the creation process with you and being like, oof, this is gonna be interesting, and then being like, okay, let me actually write this, because I didn't have Bardicdice figured out then, so I brought it in because of that character creation. So, well, yeah, I think that's
I love Bri.
Bri's great.
My
Yeah, Darkness Monster didn't like Bri apparently, but
barely.
neither does Gravity.
Mark just shakes his head.
I had to get one shake of the head at least in the stream. Mark, you're next. I want to ask your question.
Anybody?
Anybody. This is just, I mean,
Anybody.
yeah, you're not like specific. You don't have to ask me a question or anything like that. It can just, it's just like whoever's gonna be the next one. Shoot.
All right.
I love it.
I'll just start off on the top of your list, Mike. What classes are Carlos, Alana, Ergon, Sasha, and Anir?
Nice.
I had to figure this
From
out.
Amara. It's from Amara.
Yeah. So which is funny, I am not someone that writes NPCs with classes first. I write them as a narrative basis and mechanically build them out second. And this is how I create characters. So for the longest time, Carlos didn't have a class. I don't think Ergon had a class, and Sasha didn't have a class. So I had to think about it, because I knew they had ones close to them, but I was like, mechanically, once I started doing skirmishes and like once I knew like, well, what if things don't go well, like whatever could happen, I had to start like mechanically building them, and like, are they multi-classes and stuff. So that was a really fun exercise to go through, because Alana's, I think, the simplest one. Alana being a queen and all that, she has her like regalness, but she's a battle master fighter. So I 100% built her off of the queen from Fire Emblem. Big old axe, really regal, has a fierceness and a standoffishness if you do not respect her, but if you go up to her and give her respect and are willing to work with her, and you don't even have to do what she says. It's just being respectful of the status and all that stuff, and being on equal ground, she'll step back. So Alana was the first one I created. Anir, Carlos was the second I created. I waited to see who he was, because he was supposed to be the comic relief and then just the weird primordial character, because it's the Triton, right? Triton's never really had at least for me, I've never been exposed to it. So wanting to bring that in and have him have this cool storyline that you guys just haven't gotten to, that's spoilers. I waited to see what he was. So Carlos is, I think at this point, is a bard. What I've gone with. We'll see if that changes any multi-classes, but I think so far bard is what he's doing. You guys can tell he's really interested in talking to people, getting to know people, inspiring people, joking, giving jokes, but also learning. So yeah, that would be interesting. Ergon was tough. Ergon is a spiritual advisor, right? A shaman for the Kalishtar, but there's not a shaman in the group, or at least not until iMonsters. So Ergon had began more as a cleric situation, but then the more I delved into the Kalishtar and the more Ahu and him started interacting, I started realizing that nature connection was a little bit more there, and like the spirits. So he is, I think, I haven't built him this way, but I think I start Will is a druid cleric mix. To create that shaman feel, yeah. Especially with that Amara, you know, like the bird connection, or the Maya, you know, like the bird connection, and being able to look through it. So that originally was just a familiar. I was just kind of giving him a familiar, and then I was like, no, I think I'm gonna build this into like a druid sort of feel. And then once he started going with his herbs, I was like, yeah, Ergon's definitely a druid. He likes long nature walks and contemplating life and stuff. So Sasha as well is one I haven't. She's not being held by a mechanical one. Anir is definitely a wizard. I think you guys could pick that up pretty clear,
Yeah.
or at least a sorcerer. But he's a wizard. He's someone that's self-taught. Will deep dive into magic and arcane, and just like that one interaction with John and I, like he will sit there and you want to talk like theories on Arcana, let's go, you know. That's something he really likes to do. So he's the fun one that I wanted you guys to see what Venali is kind of like, because that's Venali in this world, is the forefront of magic and information. Because something I've put in the world is that the affinities are the only one that have given magic, and magic is slowly waning as a natural thing. I think I made like a comment that about a third of the people only have access to like cantrips, maybe first level spells. Like Zach, your sister, like that's the extent of what she has, is the magic she has. Like going beyond that, you're gonna have to take study and practice, and basically a wizard's life, but in just any other affinity. So yeah, Sasha was one that I started off as cleric as well, and I think is also turned bard. So I think cleric and bard is kind of where I'm going with that, but in a sense of like her practice of her dad teaching her to, you know, be a politician, and so it's not like the performance type bard. It's a little, so yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward with those. Like I said, it's an amorphous sort of mechanical build. It's not like they have to strictly stick to the class that I've given them. Yeah.
Cool.
Any other questions? Are you guys good on that one? Like specifically to that one, like do you guys have any questions about those characters? Or
Wait, what about Joe Arston?
Yeah, did he
Did
even have a level
Did we
at
even
all?
see him enough?
I would I think you did. Anais, I don't think you would have noticed as a player, or I mean as a character, but as a player, that beam he did was guiding bolt. Beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Was a guiding bolt, because afterwards I had said it was still shining and like someone had advantage on the next one. So he is again a weird sort of cleric, but I think you guys will understand that more once you get to know it more and dive into that.
Yeah.
Martha, or
Marston.
Marston. I always call her Martha. Can you guys guess what she is?
Paladin.
Paladin, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure how clear that was in that. Yeah, she's not there on her own accord. She's there to watch over Jarston, and that's it. Like, that's kind of the cold figure. It's like, I don't want to be here. I'm not here to be friends with you. Like, I have a mission. This is my dead, you know, F off. Like, she almost was no much more than a guard in her mind being here. So, yeah, that was really fun.
Is Brian Artificer?
No.
Oh, okay.
He could be. I think that's one of those amorphous things. I'm sure he practices artificer type things, but he's actually a sorcerer.
Oh, cool.
That is a natural magic.
Okay.
About
Can you guys guess the dean? I had one thing I think that
dead.
tipped it off.
Oh.
He's dead.
Dead.
Him and Tar, they're the same class. What was? I feel like the dean might have been a multi, but
Pretty sure
I don't know,
said
I'm
told
thinking-
you, D.
wizard or
He's a-
sorcerer.
I was thinking a warlock almost.
Okay, he's
A warlock. Yeah.
Oh, a warlock? Interesting.
So he hexbladed, or the like where you have the pact of the weapon. When that
Yeah.
weapon formed out of nothing, that was like pretty much
Oh, right.
pretty much the biggest tip off of that, and then kind of summoning the shadows a little bit was being able to have that connection there. So yeah, that
Was Carr
all I'm gonna say on that one.
a fighter as well?
Yeah, Carr was a straightforward fighter. He was a battle
Yeah.
fighter.
Yeah.
I think I tipped it off. There was like one where you attacked him and it would have hit, but he had a reaction to use a die and basically parry it and stop the thing. So that was really fun because I wanted him to match both of you guys in like a sparring match session. Like, there wasn't really a back and forth unless the dice gave. Yeah, sweet. Why don't you guys roll off again and I'll go ahead and ask the question. Are you guys good right now? Do you guys need to take a break? Or do you want to keep it at 9:30?
We can
Guys
keep
good to
it.
keep going?
We can
Good at
keep it.
9:30?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can keep going.
I like double checking. Sometimes I get messages being like, "Bro, we gotta go to break."
I'm dying! That is usually
Too much water. Too much water.
I got a 4.
Fire.
13.
13.
2.
All right.
Oh,
Okay. Well, it was a question to Rachel anyway, so it makes sense.
Oh, perfect.
Rachel, I think this is
Yeah.
the most asked question that I've had, or at least in many different ways. And actually, I don't know if you guys want to do a follow-up because this actually makes sense with the design question too. I don't know if you want to do this separately. Let's keep it with the design, actually. I like broadening it. So for everyone, I'll use Amara's question in the chat. What inspired your character's design, like their physical appearance? Was it a real-world culture, or was it a specific feature? And was it another character from something else you've seen? Like, was it inspired from someone else or like totally original? You, Rachel, though, going into your specific decision on making her mute.
Mhm.
What was that inspiration from? I mean, there's like so many different ways we've asked this. How's it been
Yeah.
for you to play mute? Have you ever played one before? What was the driving factor? Do you have any
Okay.
apprehensions of being mute? But essentially just the playing a character that's mute and then her character design.
Okay, how about I'll answer the mute thing and then go into her character. I feel like there's almost
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
almost two
Yeah, I mean, it can be
questions.
separate. Yeah, it is.
Two different directions.
I just thought that
Um,
it served well.
I
as
can use
part
it
of
as
the
my
character design.
question if you want, though.
Sure, if you want.
Okay. Then I don't have to pick one. So I didn't have much time to look at the list again.
Yeah, that's
So, when it came to Anais being mute, I guess I like the idea of making like a certain thing about a character that's different than the other ones I've played, I guess. And I'm sure everyone does that, but usually that's one of my first things when I'm making a character is like, what is something different that I haven't done before that I can try? And so I always thought the idea of someone taking a vow of silence was super interesting because you have to be like really serious about something if you're going to literally like commit to never making a sound potentially ever again. So I thought that would be like a really what is the complete opposite of Karis? Anais. Yeah.
400 points to
real,
you.
though.
Category is character design.
Yes. So yeah, that was the choice why I decided to try it. And I knew going into it, it would probably be a challenge because yeah, communication would be interesting and I figured she probably would be a couple steps behind people and there'd be encounters that would come up where she would be at a disadvantage because she can't like yell out things or whatever. It turned out not to be as big of a deal as I thought though, because there's so much magic in like Kahu's ability and like Zach took the time really early on to learn sign language. And Meikai did a little bit too. So like she actually has been able to communicate a lot more than I thought.
That
she
assassin scene was supposed to be the like, all right, you wanted to play a mute character? Good luck. And then like, I sleep right next to you. And I'm just like,
Dang it.
I'm
Yeah.
like, perception check with disadvantage. Do I get my way? No, I don't. Okay. Like I literally wanted to just have the
Yeah.
assassin come in, take you, and yeet, and not a single person. And just being like,
that'd be interesting. And she can't say anything. Yeah. I'm sure you'll get another opportunity.
oh, oh, there will be. Oh, we'll see.
So yeah, I think one of the other questions was just like, what was some concerns? I think the one concern was, if you have to have the right party for it, because I think if the party was not might be annoyed with that or wouldn't want to work,
or just not even taking the time to notice.
Exactly.
They're just so involved with themselves that you're just over here like, okay, like, you're not even.
Oh yeah. For sure. So, but I talked with everyone in advance and was just like, do you guys care if I do this? And everyone was like, sure, go for it. So everyone knew going into it that it would be kind of a different dynamic, but I've enjoyed it. I thought it's been fun to, do that. So
I love that idea. Yeah, I remember you and I going back and forth on that, and that was like, do you remember that the whole cat's eye thing? I had something completely different built for that, and you're like, I want to be mute, and I'm like, will you I was like, I'll let you do vibrations in your vocal cords for somatic. No, that's cheating.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I was like, no sound ever.
You don't get your
He's
cat's
that
eye,
serious.
and this will be so you can do somatics. Cool, enjoy.
Yeah, it was great. I love it.
So,
yeah, fun fact, you guys, the choker she wears is basically it absorbs the somatic component, so it makes it so that she can do her spells without needing to speak. Verbal, sorry, yeah, not somatic. It's a fancier word.
And yeah, I don't know. Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So you can choose a different question if you want. I just thought it led into the character design question.
Yeah. No, I want to answer her question.
But I was like, character design with artists in here? Yeah, this is gonna be a good question.
Yeah. Do we want to re-roll and then I could just ask that one? Okay.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and go for the next
that
roll.
Works. Okay.
Everyone but Rach.
Everyone but me.
And then
I got an 11.
Aww.
All right, Mark. Dex race. Ready, go.
Next race.
All right, you can go first. Players always win over DM.
Cool.
So this is character design question?
Rachel, is that the one you're asking?
Yeah. What went behind the character design?
For me, it came after deciding the class I wanted to be, the class and race. And I was just like, I'm gonna go with that kid in high school who is that picture of perfection, and that's what I did. So he's this teenager who, blonde hair, blue eyes, beautiful face, just everyone's like, wow, when they see this guy. So that's basically what I did when I was making Zach, is because I knew charisma was going to be a big part of his class, I just went into that. So
was that inspired by you choosing ASMR as well, and how we built Celestia? Or is that different? Did you already have that before we kind of built this?
Yeah, I mean,
idea?
With the ASMR thing, I was thinking angel. What do I think of when I think of an angel? Right. Just this glorious specimen, and it's kind of the direction I went with Zach. So,
what about the scarf? What was the inspiration behind that?
I think Rachel bullied me into having a scarf.
I did not bully
the
you.
Truth revealed here first on Bardicdice.
I drew the scarf and said, do you want a scarf? And you said, sure.
I don't know. I believe the bullying because I feel like Zach was almost bullied out of a beard, so...
Yeah, I tried that. That didn't work.
Yeah.
Redden's been bullied out of a beard already.
Rachel gave him a scarf, so he got a scarf.
So mad that Renan got bullied out of a beard by both a DM and an artist, so... Cool. So Zachary, John, what about Kahu's design?
So Kahu's design came in multiple levels here. Initially, I was like, I'm gonna play a barbarian, and I was like, because then I can run around and have cool tattoos. Because I just recently watched Mally, and I really liked the idea of oh, you can tell a story with the tattoos on the skin. That'd be really cool to be able to do. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. But then I ran into Rune Knight, and I was like, ooh, I really like that. And then I asked the DM, I was like, I don't know what to do about this. And I found in Tasha's, they had like the tattoos that were also like armor. And I was like, can we work this in somehow? And the DM was gracious enough and said yes. And I was like, sweet. And so
I love that aspect of character. I think it was so much fun to like narratively put that in and give it a read.
I like that too. I really like that transference from his father too. And there, it was really awesome. And so that's kind of like why he has the big arm tattoos, because his father gave it to him, right? And so like, it's got all the affinities as his people have seen them. And then he also has the chest tattoo, which has its own story. We might get to it at some point. I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil anything too much.
No,
I can
still love it.
I can tell you the basic things. The basic things being like, it does have to do with like his desire to like his like sailing, and like his the basic stuff is he likes to sail, and he particularly enjoys the chance to navigate when he's sailing. Yeah. There's a little bit more to it than that, but
I was gonna say it hasn't come up in game, and I kind of figured it would, so I just wasn't sure if that was a thing that you're holding back and just kind of waiting for have the moment, or if it's just something like, oh, we just haven't had a chance to describe the tattoos, and everyone else knows what they are because they're in the world. But
yeah, it's one of those things that nobody's really asked the questions about them. So I mean, I don't walk up and be like, oh, hey, I have a beard now because I decided for this reason to.
Right, yeah, exactly. Sweet.
So yeah, and then I also had just recently finished watching, I think, Vinland Saga.
Yes.
And I was like, I really want some of that Viking feel in there, and so I kind of meshed the like, I wanted kind of a meshing of like the Pacific Islander and like the Viking feel together to kind of like finish out that complement of like his build and how he looks and like his hair and his tone and everything. And then the last little bit, which is like him being a spear fighter, I got that because I really enjoy a book series called The Way of Kings. It's that series of books. And there's a character in there I really like who's a spear fighter, and I was like, I really want to make a spear fighter, even though I know I'm technically nerfing my character slightly by taking a spear instead of like a sword or an axe.
Or a trident, that's fine.
Or a trident. But I don't want to, I can't take Carlos's things, so Kahu's got his thing. You don't think he's going to? Maybe he will. You're the DM, you probably do know someone does.
I actually do. There's a reason why Carlos doesn't have a trident.
So yeah, it was kind of like all these elements kind of like combined together, and like
that was my favorite part when I was like handing out those weapons. Yeah, it's a trident. You're like, I want a spear. You can change it. Like, cool. All right, you can change it to whatever you want. You haven't changed it to anything but a spear. I was like, I'm about to take that back. That rune just fades out over time. It's just always a spear now. Like,
I did change it one time when I was in the Shadow Realm fighting the monsters.
That's right. Yeah, you did. Good. Funny.
Yeah.
No, I love it. It reminds me of I was watching Critical Role, and Terry Darrington had the like little thing that could change into whatever weapon he had. I was like, all right, cool. So there is something in 5e that balances this thing out. In case you're just like whip, like change it up. So, fun. D, I know you have a lot of planned
comes from a lot of things. Yeah, so I actually made Meikai's original design back July 27th, 2019. That's when I first drew her, and she did look a little different, which is actually kind of funny. I actually did bring it up because I was kind of laughing. So, like, first Meikai picture.
I remember that.
Yeah. And but she had a lot of the same features. She had blue eyes originally, and a little bit of a lighter complexion, but I wanted to bring that more deep. So obviously Japanese influence. She has some French influence. I tried to do a French accent, but also the Japanese in real life have a huge fascination with French and French desserts, French pastries. A lot of like their Lolita type clothing, like So Meikai, you know, if we ever saw her like in her past self, I mean, she'd be wearing a lot of like stuff with like bows on it. Not that she's like a frilly person, but like a lot of the clothing is a lot more of that like kind of like a French Japanese mix. But she's also inspired by the dragon-ish race in Final Fantasy XIV, the Aura, because I play that game so much. One of my characters that I made on there was a very similar coloring, and she had purple eyes, and they had those like eye rings, like the little crescent moon rings, and she had the exact same complexion. She had dark hair, very, very similar to how Meikai is. And so I kind of wanted to pull that in, and then I draw her mostly in her yellow yukata Haori thing, and that's because of Zenitsu from Demon Slayer. I really, really liked his like yellow aesthetic, and so when I drew her initially, it was like right after we had started watching that show, and I was like, oh, I love this like yellow yukata because, you know, so many characters, so many samurai characters that you see for like D&D are, you know, they have like darker colors and like black or white. You know, it's kind of like you never really see a whole lot of like color in the clothing, and so I wanted to bring in colors. I really liked the contrast of a little bit of pattern because I'm intimidated by drawing too much pattern because then I'm overcommitting. So I didn't want to like overcommit. And then having bells too. So she does have bells on her, but she takes out the little ringer thing. But there was another anime that this long time ago, Angelic Lair, and there was a character in there named Shizuka, and she was known as like super quick and lightning-y, and she had this bell, and as soon as you heard the bell, yeah, that was like a quick death. And so that's still what I have in mind for her, so that's
Nice.
building up. And so it's really cool. And Shizuka also had the same, it's called a Hime style haircut, which also means princess, which is funny because she was a princess. And so I have all these like funny connections to Meikai that I've thought about, and like every single design detail has a meaning and has like some like importance in some kind of way. The tattoos on her eyes, I wanted to have tattoos on her just because I've never had a tattoo on a character. So kind of like with Rachel saying that like she wanted to do something that hasn't been done, like I've never had a character with a tattoo on. So I wanted something cool. She also has one on her back, which I have drawn before, so it's not really a spoiler. And I have talked about it, but she has a big one on her back that's like half finished. So I just wanted to kind of like incorporate a bunch of different design elements and like make it like feel like a monk but a samurai, like have that kind of like duality with her. So yeah, wearing high heel, like, well, not high heels, but like platform shoes too, so she's a little taller. So yeah,
Fun. I really like that. I knew you like your intentionality was in there. One thing I want to say, especially with you bringing up like the Japanese culture, because part of that question also was like, are there real world inspirations? There definitely are. When I created it, like, so everyone knows this idea of world design was taking like Lord of the Rings elves, taking Lord of the Rings orcs, taking like the normal D&D, like what is an ASMR, what is a tiefling, like flipping everything on its head. Like I was like, I don't want there to be any expectations of orcs are bad, elves are, you know, I and wise or anything like that, you know, I like having to change that up. So there were a lot of like real world stuff, but nothing in this world is real world exactly. That's one thing that I know, like that, you know, appropriation and things like that. So there are inspirations just because I think it's at an aesthetic level. But I can say that culturally wise, there's nothing in the game that, even though it might look like a Japanese culture, doesn't mean that Hanazuka is Japanese. Definitely not. So that's just something I wanted to point out, as well as for Rachel. What about a nice? Because I think the two of you are the only ones that brought back characters that you've created before, right?
Yeah. So Anais was actually originally I made her I think in 2018. It was supposed to be for a written D&D campaign, and it was on a post-apocalyptic desert wasteland campaign. So I kind of had, it was pretty similar backstory. And really the only difference with her then was she was what was called a dust cleric. So because there was no water or anything like that, the guy had made this homebrew elemental cleric thing that she could control dust. So like she had dust all over her all the time. It's kind of like Pigpen from the Snoopy cartoons, you know, how he always has a little dust cloud. Anyway, so I kind of brought her from that. And so when I was talking to Mike and making her design for Fates, I really liked the idea that like there was a desert wasteland involved, and just the idea of just super hot temperatures and tribal nomadic wandering fighting over water, really like it's either you survive or you die type of thing, which is kind of carried over from that post-apocalyptic world that I was originally going to play Anais in. So that was really the only inspiration. I don't take, when I make characters, I don't take too much from necessarily anything, or at least I don't consciously do it. I'm sure I do it subconsciously, but I don't think about it too much. So, which I like that John and Dee did that. There's a lot of intentionality behind that, and I think that's really cool. But mostly I was like, post-apoc, yeah, let's do it, and kind of went on from there. So
because I don't remember. I remember you saying you used it before and it was a homebrew class. I don't actually clearly remember Dust Cleric. That kind of would have been interesting if you had pushed for that instead of Tempest, going for something more Dust, because I could easily see reflavoring something for an Earth affinity for you instead of Sky.
I didn't mind because the campaign died before it began, so it kind of left a pretty bitter taste in my mouth anyway. So I kind of wanted to distance myself, and just start the whole thing over, away from anything that had to do with maybe like the game. But I like the idea of a Dust Cleric is a really fun idea, though. Like that was a great call.
I like that. That's a cool flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I think this is a perfect point to go ahead and take our break. Quick shout outs, BTD. Thank you so much for the sub, Nick. You are awesome. Everyone, if you like maps, if you like RPG stuff, go check out his stream. He is a fun new friend of the channel. We'll definitely shout him out here if I can spell shout out. BTD RPG, super fun. And also Nelson Snow, the bartender of Rosewood, the pourer of drinks, rolled a 6 in the chat. But thank you for the gift sub, dude. You're awesome. It seems the inheritance, the only money left over, sent to Bardicdice from his burnt down bar. But we'll see if the bartender survived. He is fighting for his life in Rome. Guess we'll have to find out if he survives or not. But that being said, thank you guys so much. We are going to take a quick break, come back maybe 5 or 6 after, and jump through some more questions. Hope you guys are having fun. Again, if you have any more questions, clarifications, or anything like that for the players, feel free to put it in the chat. Great back. Remember which one? Then. All right. Jumping back. Computer making weird noises again. But all right. Thank you guys so much for catching with the break. I have a question or two to answer from the break. Mark, you're asking, did Zach heal the bartender? Like he healed everyone else. So this is something in my games that I play healing and HP a little differently. I've never liked D&D where healing is like the sensu bean of a game, where it's like as soon as you're healed, you're just like, okay, great, I'm just good to go, everything's fine. I see HP as more of like, yeah, injuries you take, but like the fatigue level and your ability to stay conscious and to continue going forward, whether that's through different wounds, whether that's through fatigue, whether that's through whatever, instead of just straight health. So when someone gets healed, yeah, those HP goes up, but I still consider it like, yeah, a wound might close up so it's not bleeding out, but there's still like scarring, there's still bruising, there's still that like tiredness, or maybe they have to recover from smoke inhalation, you know, like whatever. Like, not that they're gonna die, you definitely save them from dying, but you know, that kind of like that a little bit of slower healing, not maybe as slow as Sit Master General type healing, but that kind of thing. So and like a lot of times too, if I know, like let's say like how we had played out the end of the arc, if I knew that there's more fighting happening after that, like after what's going on now in the day, I might even say you guys need to do a con save to see if you get an exhaustion. Like how well can you hold your stamina and then push past it to continue going forward. If we're doing a dungeon crawl and you guys are pushing yourself for the entire day, that's how I see different things like that, like the fatigue building in. You've had so many injuries, it's going to start holding you back, little things like that. So yeah, just something I thought about. But yeah, I guess what
Yeah, but Neeson's alive, right?
no.
He went
Stay
to
tuned.
bed. He went to bed. He does not.
Yeah,
hear.
he's alive, don't worry, but stay
You
tuned
can
for next
tell.
week. That is something that will be revealed in game, as you guys can tell, and I think will probably be shown. There's a lot of destruction in Rosewood. It's going to be seen who's going to stay and who will abandon the city. That's a big part of it. So you guys want to do a roll off?
Yeah.
Or you guys want to continue? Who's I don't even
Oh
remember
wait,
who did
didn't we
last.
do it?
I don't even remember.
No,
Let's just start over.
No, we
We're back
didn't.
from
We
break.
didn't.
Who's
Oh,
the
nat 20.
I do believe Mark though was the one who rolled the highest the last time, because it was a tie between
Oh yeah.
Mark
between the two of us?
and
Yeah, okay. So
I
Mark.
got 4 this time. So.
Yeah, so Mark, why don't you choose the question for someone or for everyone, and Rachel will be next. Got the nat 20.
All right. I guess I'll go with my question for Kahu.
Ooh.
I mean, he seemed like he's always been kind of hesitant in accepting the chosen title, and now it's on his forehead, and he can't really hide anything. So how does he feel about that? And just kind of like having it out there, almost like the decision was made for him too, on some levels, maybe. I don't know.
Kahu's definitely currently still trying to figure out where he stands in all of this. He kind of feels the being forced, having this forced on him is a very similar feeling to him as to the forcing of other things that have occurred to him in his life and left kind of a bitter taste in his mouth. And it's part of the reason why he's also hesitant about him having been given the seat of the next chief, because again, that he feels like that's been forced on him, and he feels like he's going through motions but not choosing the path that his life is taking right now. And so he's, say, apprehensive and, like he talked about to Maya, trying to understand how to work with the cards he's been dealt.
John, for your player coming into the game, you had built him to be near the bottom of the family. Did you expect at all the idea that I might throw in that, like, yeah, you're chieftain next?
I felt that it was a possibility because I did build out the culture and structure to allow for that if you
Right.
wanted to make use of it, because I didn't want to limit you so much into like what choices you might make
Yeah.
or what might happen. And so when I made sure when I was building out the culture that was a possibility, I did have like in the back of my mind, like, this could actually happen to my characters. You got to be ready for
Yeah.
it. So like I knew it was a potential, but I wasn't like planning on it or like committing to it in any way, shape, or form.
Nice. Were you expecting it that early?
I definitely was not expecting it that early.
That's my fun part of like some of you players of just being like, nope, first game, first session, backstory in your face, like you're murdering one of your assassins, you're now chief, like things like that. So that's cool. No, I was kind of interested in that. Sweet. Was it Rachel, right? You're asking
Yeah.
the next question?
Yeah, I want to ask it too.
Why do you roll
Indeed.
off? Got a 10.
Yes. 16.
8.
So all right, so Mekai would be the next one that. Oh, that works out
Perfect.
perfect.
Yeah, it heard me call her.
Dice
So I was just wondering what you feel like Meikai's greatest strength and greatest weakness is as you've played her.
I think, I don't know. It's hard to separate my mind between player and character when I am playing, if that makes sense. Because I feel like they're often the same thing. They end up like, I guess I'm just so in character.
I do that. Yeah.
I think her, I don't know, I feel like a weakness of hers is that's a hard question. I know I had thought about this too, because I saw it and I was like,
We're thinking about hiring you. Please tell us your 3.
Yeah,
weaknesses.
she's in a job interview.
I know, and you're just like, what? I don't know. I'm indecisive, I guess. Like, don't put me on the spot.
I mean, yeah, living that out.
Yeah, that's.
Decisive
I
about being
think.
indecisive.
I think a weakness of hers is definitely being too hard on herself. Like, yes, okay, she did accidentally kill someone, but I think there's a limit, and like, not like, because in the manner that it happened, I think not forgiving yourself is a really big thing. And I think there's a time where like you can still have regrets, but you also shouldn't be beating yourself up every single day, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge weakness for hers, is not letting herself move and like being her like own block, right? But I think a strength is that, and I haven't really gotten to play it out, is that she really does care about a lot of people. She does care. She's interested. She's compassionate. She really does love making acquaintances, making friends. So she is really invested. Like, she's that type of person to sit and just listen for hours. Like, she's invested in that way. So that's definitely a strength, is more of that like social aspect. So yeah.
Cool.
I like it.
Me too.
All right. Let's roll off again. D, you.
Oh.
Next question.
Questions.
Butt rate.
Another 8.
Ooh. Wow, Mark
Wait,
is not
everyone but
rolling
Rachel,
high.
I roll too?
No.
You're the one answering,
Oh.
asking the question.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, wait.
I ask it and I go again.
Okay. Wait, who won?
Oh, you can ask anybody. But,
Oh, I
uh,
wanted to ask Mark a question.
Yep. So just John.
'Cause
will be
I
the next
wanted-
one to ask questions.
Oh, okay. Do you think, this is from Rachel, do you think Zach truly loves Sasha, or is it more of a childhood crush? I also want to know this.
I mean, Zach really cares about Sasha. Like, they are close. They've grown up together, and they've been very close their whole time, like growing up. Like he's been away from her for it was 9 months. He was away from her though, and he's changed in that time, and she's had change too. So going forward, we'll see where things go, because who's she going to be now, and who's Zach going to be now, and what's that going to mean? But I think she'll always be at least very special to him on some level, kind of regardless of the future of their romantic relationship. But yeah, it's more serious than just a fling type of a thing, I would say.
That's fun to think about too, because like I think sometimes I forget that you guys actually grew up as kids together too, like not just knowing each other, but like grew up. So is Sasha and Zachary similar to Rodden and Karis a bit?
I was just thinking that, yeah.
I mean, that could be a good comparison.
Yeah.
It's more like they went into kind of the mindset of we're dating, though, where Rodden and
Sure.
Karis didn't really go into that when they were younger. So
Mostly because someone was never clued in on what's going on, but...
yeah.
Also, one got stripped from the other one in the first game, so...
True.
Oh, that's fun. Cool. I don't know, I really like that. For you guys, as players, I've never, often at least, I've never, like, romanced as an NPC to a PC. And I just recently had my first PC to PC romance in game. So is that weird for you guys as players? Is that new to you guys as players? Is that stuff you've done before? Is that stuff you want in a game? Quick little answer.
Like, I'm
Wait,
flirting
what'd
with
you
you
ask?
all
Sorry?
day.
I'm just
like a-
saying, like, I'm down for a mark.
You and me, man, we're gonna flirt all
Like,
day.
I'm game, man. Well, peck on the cheek. Have you noticed she hasn't kissed you on the lips yet, though?
I'm not against it. I know we've had some characters who've kind of like wanted to start flirting with
Yeah.
Kahu. He's just not in the mental mindset yet.
Well, that was really nice to actually NPC Amaya. That wasn't something I had originally intended. And I think I told D this. That entire scene was something that I just kind of went with, and I thought it was so beautiful. So to have that moment was really interesting to play someone that is like trying to be comforting to you as not a stranger, but as someone like intimately I know, you know. So that was really fun. That was very interesting.
Did you ask us all a question?
Yeah, I was just kind of
I
asking
must
you
have
guys
tuned
like.
out, sorry.
No, just
I
asking,
was
like,
looking at chat, I got distracted.
for me, it's like the first time like I've really like played through an NPC romance. I got Car and
Mhm.
you know Meikai. I got Sasha and Zach going on, and like I'll maybe reference flirting, but it's never been like an actual relationship. So that's new. But then I also had my PC to PC, which is new. That's new to me. I enjoy it in a game, but is this stuff that you guys have ever have done before? Is this new to you, like in a game? Like, are you okay with it, or you're not okay with it? Like, you're just, I'm just not interested. Are you Travis and I just like watching other people do it?
I've never done a PC to PC romance before. But and mostly just because it never worked. Like, it was either there was no chemistry or
Usually, and did you say something like you usually build that into characters, like they're just like
When
happen
I'm
to be
in-
taken? Yeah.
yeah, when I'm in a group that I don't know very well, especially an online group, I always build in some that they're in a relationship of some sort, just so that no one will flirt with me. It doesn't make it weird. It still happened anyway, but you know, it at least cuts it down a little bit. But no, I mean, in a lot of, especially like games that I've played with Mark, I usually end up having an NPC romance and normally don't see it coming. But it usually has felt really natural and cool, and I've always really liked it. Probably because I'm married to the DM and he like knows, you know, what's gonna get my heart all aflutter. So
Yeah, actually, I was talking with Mike about this earlier in the week. Yeah, I've only had PC to PC with John. Same thing. Like, I always fall for his characters. Like, I always go for that. But like, with the whole car thing, I was hesitant, and then I was like, well, But like,
YOLO.
yeah, I was like, you know what? Like, honestly, this is just kind of like, even if it just ended up just being that one night that they just like kiss and then it
Yeah.
was like
Went back
nothing
to teasing
else.
you afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
if you guys
I
hadn't
just-
been on his team, that was a big possibility of happening.
yeah.
But him
Yeah.
being captain,
I
having
know
like
it's
just
like a-
spending time with you, it just kind of like could have been involved too.
Oh, we
Yeah,
have to
'cause it's-
train.
it's
Right,
that
yeah,
training.
right.
Really
All right, you
good
guys are done
train.
training. Make you need to. That last hit was really bad. All right, bye guys. No, seriously, Kahu, go. We're fine. Fine.
But yeah, I mean, I'm never opposed to it. I just haven't like had that experience of like an NPC in a PC. Because it's also just usually written in like a character. Like the Days of Blight game, Jeriel had a fiance, has one. Like, you know, I didn't want to have to deal with anybody like potentially like coming up and I'm like, I don't know you. Like, sorry, I know Rachel, and that's like it.
So I think the biggest question for tonight, and the one that everyone's been waiting on, the last ship that you have shipped is now hanging on a wall with a lance through his heart. What's your next ship, man?
Yeah, I want to know
What are you
that.
getting behind? What are you manifesting?
Oh man.
Manifest is also a ship pun.
Yeah, Makar has successfully crashed.
Yeah, wait. Wasn't it Makai and Anir? Because that's what you were chanting last.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
there's
mean-
Darlin.
I think that would be pretty great. I don't know. I mean, I could see Kahu and Alana too, but we'll see.
I kind of, yeah, a little bit.
I can see that. You're not gonna ship Zach and Sasha.
That's
mean, you do,
already
but you don't.
going.
I know,
The ship's in the
but just
harbor.
keep
The
keep room
next ship, you
for
can't
it.
see the ship that's already there.
Rye and bacon. That's already there too.
You always have a haunted ship.
Dang.
Makai and Kar.
Yeah, I have a ghost ship now.
There you go.
It lives in my head. Fine.
Kahu's head, we'll see. John, so you're asking questions next.
Yes.
Forget who's left in the roll-off, though. I know I am.
Mark. Or wait. Mark and Mike, I
You just
think.
asked a question, so.
Rolled low like
Is it
every
just me and-
time.
me and
this
you
past
again?
time. I think so.
That's so funny. Better beat this.
5.
Ew.
Such low rolls. At least it's like a Q&A and not a...
I love it.
I think I have a question for the DM. I am curious.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm curious. When you kind of brought the group together and kind of drove everything here, but I'm particularly curious. What are your favorite surprise moments that have happened with each person's character that you wouldn't have expected, or that was more than you expected it to be?
Surprise moment. So I can start off the literal first scene with your character was a surprise. Because coming into the game, you were the player I've played least with. And in our one shot, you didn't RP much. Like, it was a little bit, but it wasn't to the level that Kahu was. And plus, it was like a lot shorter. You guys didn't have a chance to. So I didn't know how well you could RP yet. And so jumping into that session, I was just not expecting these like instant chemistry between like your brother and him. And like getting a chance to like have your character be so empathetic and so Kaguranga just literally like shot off the screen and became a character instantly. And so that was really fun because it didn't become a game at that point, it became a story. And I loved jumping like from game one right into that. So that was the biggest surprise for me, was Kahu's depth to the character. And like you said, just the evolution of that and seeing, I mean, hugging a shadow like that soon to be scene definitely surprised me. So I think his depth of character really surprised me, because I was expecting that soldier. I was expecting like a which you are playing the reluctant hero or the reluctant person to come into chieftain, but it's not the same one that I was expecting. So that's really cool. I think that's the biggest change. Makai. I think Meikai's awkwardness and ability to stumble into certain things, like her nosiness in relationships, has been amazing. But I think your choice to dive into that relationship 2 weeks before I was gonna kill him, because like I said, I had that planned. That was my moment of ending this arc from day one. So seeing that happen right before was so tough, because like as a DM, I was like, yes. Oh, you just added so much angst to all of this and everything. But like as someone who like roots for Meikai, that was really tough, and like wanting to make sure you guys you as players were okay too, because I mean you spent so many drawings and writing stuff, so I was like, oh man. Because honestly, I figured you guys hadn't interacted much with him. That whole farm scene, or like him training you guys on the ship, that was just meant to give you guys like, oh, okay, Carr has a reason to be this way. He has a backstory, you know, like a second, just a moment to realize, all right, he's not as bad. Let's get to know him before he dies, right? And then it just became better. Anais, I think it's been how close Bright Carries and her has been. Because I definitely was expecting you, Anais, to be more closed off and like impish. Is that the right word? Impish, or I don't know, not impish,
Skittish?
but like skittish. I think skittish is the
that
word
what
I was
you're
going for.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The very just like, don't talk to me, like very closed off for the most part with her story, and I think giving her an avenue to not be, and watching this pull of like, who are you going to decide to be? The person that, you know, the story has created you to be, or can you lift yourself out of that trauma and choose a different path if she wants it? So that's been really fun. And then Zach, I think the biggest surprise is just how disregarding he's been to almost every NPC. Has been super fun. I mean, like, I remember this one, I think it was the first skirmish, and I know that I've given him one thing after another to like make him hate life. You know, I already knew he hated being away from home. Like anywhere he's going, that's already a thing, and like everything's stacking up. But I just remember Right Carey's just walking to be like, hey buddy, how's it going? He's like, what? And I'm like, hello. Like both me as a player and the NPC. And you're just like, you know, like, tell me what's going on with the Inquisitors. And it's like, I'm not gonna tell you our secrets. Like, yeah, fine, whatever. And he's just like, kid, what? Why did you choose danger this morning? Like, what is happening? And so that's what surprised me as a DM and an NPC, because I'm like, I just don't know what to do. Like, just get away from me, you brat. Like, and not to you as a player, but to the character. And it was hilarious. It was like, whatever. Like, and it's fun because that's both how they react, but also how Zachary sees it. Like, fine, if you're not going to trust me, like, then why are you keeping secrets? You know, like, he wants people to open up to him about things, or like, you know, whatever. So it's really, that's the interaction that surprised me, that I was worried about it and it shocked me at first, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna deal with this, and then it's become like probably one of my favorite things to do with him. So that's been a fun transition. Mark, that was your question, right? I think I'm asking a question. Yeah, is that right?
I don't remember.
I don't think.
Or was
That
that
was my
John's
question.
question?
That was
Okay,
my
so
question.
Mark,
Yeah.
you're choosing the question now.
I choose the question.
I lose
Okay.
my hosting abilities when I'm answering questions. I'm sorry.
Okay, this is my D question. What now? Because like Carr was a big motivator, I think, for Meikai before he died.
Into it.
Now that he's dead, what's her motivation like to keep going?
Yes. I'm like half joking about that. Vengeance. I think she was kind of like, because she had no real goals, but I think being in the Centurium and then having a lot of talks with Carr, which again, I feel like I've talked and thought a lot about that kind of stuff. It just didn't show, but like he helped her, right, be that like more confident. And so I feel like she started being like, okay, you know, in her mind, she's like, well, I'm a chosen, like I should really help people more, you know. And so that was already in her mind, but then that he's dead and he died because of this darkness stuff. I think that just in of itself, just retribution and justice, and you know, she's not going to go on a murder spree necessarily, but she is wanting answers. And so and finding that, and finding, you know, um helping Anais, you know, seeing firsthand all the stuff on Anais' side, and then having this skull knight thing that she didn't even see, you know, and finding that and just absolutely destroying it. So I think it's, I mean, you know, hey, I'm a chosen, hey, this sucks, but also I kind of have an excuse to do this stuff, so we all right, here we go.
I love it. Is there any more? I think you and I have talked about this. What's your biggest regret or thing that did not happen between you and Carr because of time constraints?
Yeah, it was, I don't know, I hesitated a lot telling him. I thought about it so much, and it kept being on the tip of my tongue, and I was like, I need to tell him. I really, really, really regret not.
I messaged you like
having
5
that.
times, like, hey, you want to have a talk with them before the skirmish? Like, good. I'm like, okay.
Because I thought we would have time.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'll just tell him afterwards. But yeah, I
should have been
think,
like, hint, hint.
yeah, he notices something is different about you. He asks it, what are you saying?
But he did.
Like,
Well, he did that one interaction with the last interaction you had with him that night before.
well,
Remember
that's
he
true,
noticed-
kind of.
Yeah.
I almost said it at that point, but it was a time constraint thing. Like in my head, I limited myself, so I am forever kicking myself for not telling him and not saying something, because I would have. I really want to know what he would have said. Like that's, yeah.
And that kind of goes into another thing I built into the world was, which is funny that beacons turned into the same thing because I wasn't expecting that either, was making revivify and resurrection tough to have in this world. It's not something that's going to be readily available, and I wanted death to be not final, but a threat in the game, because sometimes it's like, revivify, we're fine, like we're gods. So the idea that there probably isn't anyone that can do a revivify or a resurrection until you guys do it. Maybe there's someone out there, but you have to find that person, right? Is something interesting in the game that is interesting, that now that Carr is dead, like, I mean, doesn't mean you can't do it later, but I think if you guys were at a level where you could revivify him right away, right? I think it would lessen the impact, at least now.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something big for me, or like wanting to do a role, you know, for resurrection. Not always geared. Yeah. Do you have anything else to say on that? Makar.
Cute ship name.
Amara had a really good question, and I think this would be fun to explain. How did you all even get together as a group, and how did you all meet? Does anyone else want to tell that, or do you want me to kind of go through? At least,
I'm trying to think of how we all met.
because originally I think it was just stumbling across Instagram or Facebook, found Rachel's art channel, and I commissioned her for Ambrosius back in the day, for Curse of Strahd. So that happened. We were talking. I was like, oh, this, you know, she really knows D&D. Like, she actually like cares about the character. And so like we talked a lot during that process, because you wanted to like deep dive into the character, and I'm like, wow, there's things I haven't even thought about. And it was funny because what was like a year or two went by where it was like just nothing, and I was like,
yeah,
that'd be fun to play with, like in a game with that person. Like, I just, you know, with someone that's that invested in a character. Like, I hadn't been in a game at that point. I hadn't played for a while. Like, games would start and then end with the same group and things like that. So then Angie's group, we were all being like, we want to do a Star Wars game. And I got on Instagram and I saw Rachel and Mark at Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars. Hey, you want to play the Star Wars game? And for whatever reason, you said yes.
Yeah, we literally hadn't talked. Like, he commissioned me in like 2017, and then you didn't talk to me for like 2 years. and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you just respond to my Instagram story. I'm in a Star Wars game. Do you want to be in it? And then I was really like, I mean, you're cool, but I don't know. And then as soon as I heard it was set
my name's Michael. Would you like to join a Star Wars game with me? All right.
And as soon as he said, I think it's set in Knights of the Old Republic, I was like, I'm in, because I'm obsessed with Knights of the Old Republic. Yeah, and then I knew D from Instagram. I don't remember how we followed each other.
I think it was Caper and Crow. Because, like, you guys were talking, and then, like, I saw that you guys were in a game together with the sisters, and I remember thinking, like, watching your stories on your people, because, like, we only had our home game, and I was like, I want to play game with her someday. Like, just like, I like her characters, but, like, I don't know, like, and we hadn't really, like, talked, like, too much at that point. But then, like, I drew those two sister characters, and then, like, you and I started talking, and then it was the Days of Blight. But, like, I mean, I think the first interaction was, like, 2018. No, 2019. 2019. No, 2018. Yeah, because that's when I met Caper, too. So I met you a little bit later that year. But, yeah, we didn't start talking until, like, your Days of Blight game. But, like, yeah.
So then...
we just dragged our husbands with.
Yeah, because, like, well, and then... so then Mike and Dee met through
before that, I had wanted to start up a stream myself prior to me doing it and learning I didn't have the computer for it, and then the group that I had that I was going to stream with and do something like this broke apart, and they're like, we can't commit, we're going to do a podcast and all that stuff. So I just gave up on that dream, and then that's when Marquee Gaming and you started streaming, and that all kind of started. That was cool.
Well, and then all five of us, so, like, Mike and Dee were in a game that I was running. And then I think that's when, Mike, you were like, Dee's a really fun player. And then you decided to do that one shot.
Yeah.
That was based off
like testing,
the thing.
Like, if the four of us, I think,
and so then all four of us, and then all four of us were in a one shot together, and we all worked really well.
That's what you guys did to me. Y'all brought me into one of y'all's one shots to see if I'd be a good fit with Beacons. So it's all like this, like, stumbling, like,
secret
evolution of it.
Yeah.
So that was really tough. I mean, Fates was my former game. For anyone that doesn't know, like, it just didn't work for me. I didn't know how to say no, or, like, how to frame my game in a way that works for me as a DM. So I ended up getting total burnout and, like, actually giving up on DMing. Like, I was just never going to DM a game ever again. I was going to be a player, and just this desire to tell a story came back out. And I had such a hard time picking players, like, because I had a big roster of people that wanted to do it, and it was just really tough. And I feel sorry for the people that wanted to play in this game and couldn't. I wish I could do this for 10 people, but I know I can't handle a 10-person game. Like, I'm a 4 to 5 person storyteller. But seeing you guys want to couple up was really enticing, because I thought it was really neat to see two couples, husband and wives, on screen, role playing together, especially if one of you guys usually DMs. D, you had a DM game. Mark, you're usually DM. Rachel is DMing Days of Blight. So I wanted to give you guys both a chance to play with each other instead of
which is
playing.
so great. I love it.
Yeah. That was the evolution of how we met, and then kind of how the streams began. And thanks to Marquee Gaming, Bardicdice evolution.
Yeah.
Thank you, Internet.
Thank you, Internet and community. And also, thank you, Demon King Dragon, for the follow. Super nice.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
One more closer.
Yeah, do we want to thank, like, the reason why I started streaming? Because no one likes it. But
What?
What do you mean?
it's COVID. I started streaming because
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not ignoring why you're streaming. My bad. Like, no.
Yeah.
Is that, like,
It was
literally the reason? Like, if COVID hadn't happened, would you have not started
I
it?
probably would not have started streaming if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah.
So
Because he was really against online D&D at all. I couldn't even get him to try it out a little bit.
I would have been always in person when COVID happened. It's like, okay,
I'm
I
almost
guess
like completely
adapt.
opposite.
So.
Yeah. I'm almost strictly never played at the table except for Adventures League. I'm like strictly online play, which is fun.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever stop? I mean, now that you have the streaming, that's different. But, like, will you ever stop DMing a game online, or do you still prefer that in person?
I mean, in person, I think is just so much
Just different,
better.
Yeah.
So, I would prefer that, but I don't know if I'd want to stop
Right.
a stream necessarily too. But
Okay.
Well, and it all depends on like who you play with, and I felt
Mhm.
like, you know, it's almost easier to find players you mesh with really well online because they're from
Yeah.
everywhere versus like
Mhm.
it's hard to find people
Well,
locally.
these are the
that
only
you
people I
might-
have, so let's deal with it. And
Yeah, finding
Yeah.
local people's hard. I mean, our
Mhm.
home game, it's a miracle that it even worked, you know.
yeah.
But I do like the flexibility of online. But then you have the challenges of time zones and all that. Like, you know, having players from different countries, like
Yeah.
that just gets so tough unless you're all like committed. So
Who's up next? I think was it me asking the next
think-
question?
you are.
Well, that was the
Yeah.
question I asked. Cool, so great. So let's go ahead and roll the die then. I think everyone done it.
16.
I don't know why I rolled because it's me.
Well,
16.
I didn't win anyway. Roll off again.
Roll off.
2.
Well, just the two of them, yeah, because they tied.
6.
That's okay. Two still works.
So I guess it's me.
Yep, John's turn.
All right. Trying to remember the one I wanted to say.
Yeah, Rachel, I think everybody met you through your Instagram, huh?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of great people I've met
So
on
the-
Instagram.
I have one for Rachel regarding
Hi.
Anais.
Yay.
So I feel that the Centaurium had a lot of opportunity for us to get to see kind of Anais' growth. I'm curious though, another mindset question to kind of how has Anais' mindset changed from the beginning of the game to where she is now? Because appearance-wise, like we see her being more confident, it seems, especially kind of like with the artwork you've done and stuff like that. But I'm kind of curious how you've seen that mindset shift to go from the initial artwork with the crazy hair to kind of where we are now.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think a lot of the beginning of playing her was like you have I think it's almost like 3 stages is what I'm kind of picturing here. The first stage when we was like playing it was, you know, she was just coming out of this fight or flight sort of thing where like she was so used to being completely alone, you know, every moment was on high alert all the time, just in that wasteland by herself. And so, you know, getting ready to flee at any moment, getting ready to fight something, you know, whatever. And so when she went to the Centaurium, she was kind of coming out of that and, you know, not even being used to talking to people for like 2 months straight, you know, just not interacting with anybody, not having anyone close. So there was definitely like coming down off of that was kind of a part of her development in the Centaurium. And then most of the thing after that, up till about 5 sessions ago, was her just being numb. I did not take notes on purpose, except for things I know she was paying attention to, and she did not take many notes. I did not take many notes. Things went over her head all the time because she was in such a like shocked trauma processing mode. She was blocking out almost anything until like something would happen and a trigger like her either getting upset about something or getting angry about something. But other than that, it was just this brain fog all the time, which I think is normal, and I think that people were good enough to help her through that and do little things to kind of get her to keep going. Really the only thing she was focusing on is getting better at training and so that she could survive what she knew would come in the future. Being chosen helped her though. Being chosen first gave her a little bit of purpose, instead of just
Right.
kind of like decaying away. And then the last kind of stage of that was near the end once we kind of dealt with the lightest assassin, and like everyone kind of helped her see that like remembering her family and remembering the past, it was painful, yes, but it's kind of necessary. You should remember the good and you should remember who they were. even if it hurts. And so it kind of broke her out of her numbness. So I feel like she's far more alert in herself than she's been this entire campaign. I don't know who she is, to be honest with you. It's like recovering little pieces of her old self. So we'll see where she goes. But for now, I think she is essentially broken free from a lot of like the initial shock trauma processing and is now going into functioning with a more clear head, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen it the most in the roleplay, because session 0 was like, I mean, like, Bri was just almost like dealing with an animal cornered, like, calm down, like, you're fine, like, come with me, like, oh, you know, like, it was very, very skittish, like, you tell you're about to just flee from him right off the bat, to just now, like, seeing you know, being able to have those interactions, it's such a complete 180. It's fun to see just in 30 episodes. So.
Yeah. And a huge part of her being okay is the party. Like, they helped her so much. Her party and Bri, like, really helped her. So, good job, you guys.
Sometimes Bri did.
Yeah, sometimes he made it worse. But,
Why?
you idiot. No. He had the heart there, you know?
He did have the heart there. That was really fun. Thanks. I'm already forgetting who rolled. Who rolled high? We haven't rolled yet. That's what it was. Right?
Yeah, we need to roll now. 9.
10.
7. Finally won a roll off. Was it Rachel asking the question? We're doing it.
It was. Wait, I didn't win.
Now I'm blanking out. Who won?
I won the previous one and asked the question. You won, so now you ask the next question.
Okay.
You're up.
I forgot how my mechanics work. Great. Talking about the brain fog.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh yeah, it's usually because we roll before the question. I think that's what's fun then. But yeah, let's roll the next one, because that's helping me figure it out. You guys can go ahead and roll. But
19.
Joan.
14.
Okay, I think I won.
Natural 1.
Natural 1. What area are you most excited to explore next, or what story element are you guys excited to explore next? Cover, not as characters, but as players. Like, now that the world's opened up to you, is there like a place you really want to explore in the world, or like storylines you just want to get to like now? Okay. This is for everybody.
Yeah. What order do we want to go in? Just kind of any.
You can go.
I'm really, really interested to see the fallout with Gravnica. Like, I think it's really interesting. And like who they're gonna blame, if it's gonna be, you know, New Organia, if there's gonna be, you know, more walls put up. I'm interested in that, but I'm also super interested in how in general the world's gonna be taking this, just from a political standpoint on that. But I am super interested going back home, and going back to that side. There's like a million things going on in my head and possibilities, and I'm just like, I want to go there, but I also don't.
Right?
So
Yeah.
So that's what I'm interested in.
It's funny, Rachel talking about real quick, going back to that note taking. That is really funny, because I had a problem in the beginning of Fates where you even as a player were forgetting stuff because Anais was. I was like, why is she not invested in my story when you remember every detail that happens in Beacon's Aura? And it took you explaining that one time that I was like, oh, thank God she doesn't hate the story, because I'm like, dang, she hates this. And I'm like, okay.
No, Karis is a character that pays attention to everything, so I remember everything.
Yeah.
But in this
But
one,
I was
Anais
expecting
is like
Anais not to remember, but Rachel to be like, but actually this happened. You're like, I don't even know what happened. I'm like, what happened last game, girl? Like, why are you acting like me right now?
Yeah.
No, it was really great. But yeah, so what about you? What are you most excited about in this next arc game?
Um,
Doesn't even have
I
to be excitement, but maybe intrigue too.
Yeah, I could go a bunch of different directions. I'm excited to have some character spotlight on either Kahu or Zach. Just because I feel like Meikai and Anais have talked a lot about their backstories. And Anais has been kind of in the forefront. So I'm excited to see a little more what's going on with the boys.
Yeah.
And kind of a little like deeper dive into like their emotional state. And in general, I think I'm just excited for the party to be forced to be together a little more. So maybe we'll be friends now.
I mean,
like,
technically you're not
friends.
forced, but hopefully you guys stick.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could all just
Either
be like,
any of
bye,
you guys
and
could just dip off and be like,
just do a new Centaurium arc
Okay.
where we all just go to a different town.
no, I've actually thought about that. If there's a scenario where you guys feel your character would leave and go off and do something else, I would allow you to roll a new character to play and let that character go on that mission they had chosen, and then you could let me know when they'd come back, if they come back, right? Because that's actually something specifically, Zach, I was going to bring up for your character, was like, at times I wonder if the sister thing or your family thing will ever pull you away from the group to an extent of like, no, I have to go this now because this is more urgent than what we're doing together. And if the group has to go in a different direction, right? That's something I actually thought about, just in case, maybe not just yours, but anyone's comes up. So going with yours, what are you excited for going next? And is there urgency to Zachary and what he get done as well? Yours is the one that I like, character and player.
So I mean, first thing, Zach
It's
is
divided.
wanting to get settled is what's gonna happen with his sisters. Like he wants them out of the castle and out of that city. And that's high priority to him. So I think that's why he's like, along with he wants Bri to get better for Anais' sake, he wants Bri better potentially to look after his sisters. And so figuring out that is a big thing on his radar. I mean, in the last session, there were responded to, like, sending stone messages to that's going to be a priority for him. So
Right.
we'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, what that means. So
What about, is there anything different as you as a player, a character? Or is it kind of still, does it line up?
I mean, for player wise, I think what is sort of the direction, like main plot focused, I guess, is the ritual seems broken in some way, and Zach wants to work on fixing it.
Nice.
So whatever that
Right.
means. So
I've noticed Kaho and Zach both have like harped on that.
yeah, I think Anais was thinking it too, and just kind of like
to redo it if it hasn't been done.
Yeah.
Well,
it's never worked. Like it's always ended with something worse happening or bad happening. So
yeah, and I think that is that was a little of a clarification that I wanted to make going into the next one. It's not that it's never worked, but it does seem that a lot of bad things happen when it happens. Anytime like these anytime the Chosens have won, it's because they've done the ritual and stopped the beat. So there are times where it has worked, but it does seem that really bad things are also associated with it as well. So I think I was going to clarify that with the timing of each Chosen, what the Genasi does as well, because I don't think that really came out in the conversation too well. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a very good point from you guys as characters.
I just have kind of cross thoughts with like things that maybe could be done to make things better.
100%,
So
yep. Nice. Jordan.
Long-term wise, I am interested in understanding the actual like basis of the corruption.
Right.
like as a player and as my character, I both have a desire to like understand not just the fact that like corruption exists, but like why and what's the purpose. Because kind of like what Zach said, like at least Kahu kind of sees that there's this imbalance because of it, and ritual. Even you just said it works sometimes, but even then, when it works, what does it do? It just delays. So, like, what's the actual solution to the problem? Because clearly, what's been done is what's happening is insanity, right? It's you're repeating the same answer over and over and over, expecting a different result, and you're just getting the same answer over and over and over. And so, long term, I'm really interested in that. In the short term, I'm honestly excited to kind of see the different parts of the world and of the realm and kind of how things interact. We've really had more of a chance to kind of see how humans interact with the other races. I'm curious to see how some of the other races are going to interact with us as we go into their areas. Is it going to be similar, or is it going to be more one way or the other?
For sure. Yeah, I remember talking to Dee about that because I think I brought up the map. We were talking about, I put hexes on the map so that way you guys will know, all right, if we want to go here and you plan your route, how many days does it take, that kind of stuff. And we were kind of talking about how the human side right now is so like known and established, and the whole primordial side is a little bit more chaotic and not say wild, but it's still forming. I mean, they've just been there, what, less than 50 years, less than 20 years. So like things are so more engaging there, at least as far as like potential how people interact. So it's really fun to have such a clear, distinct difference in the world. You guys step into one side, and because you're primordials, you might be treated differently, but it's humans in human world. Like it's one world, but you guys step into the other. So, yeah, I'm definitely super that one. For sure. Had brain, but I already lost it. But sweet. For the rest of this until 11, do you guys just want to round robin, pick any questions you guys are just like really interested in? And because that by that time I figured we'd probably go, if everyone asks one more question, and you don't have to direct it to a certain person or whatever, we'd probably get to around 11. So, and D, why don't you start? Is there a certain question that hasn't been
Yeah, so Shiv
really
had kind of asked this. Shiv had also, this kind of combines what Shiv was saying too, because she had asked a question. So, part one is choosing everyone's element, and then I'm kind of curious about too. And then two is why are they on our forehead versus somewhere else, because you had asked that initially. And so I know everybody's kind of curious about that.
Yeah, so as far as the affinities, that's been a huge evolution of ideas and thoughts and what I wanted to do, and luckily I've actually had Rachel commission a lot of them, so I'd like to present them more into a visual aid into the game and to some of the screens so you guys can see what they are and we kind of get seeing them. But it's something that's changed so much throughout my writing. My initial iteration did not have darkness as an affinity. Darkness and corruption were one of the same. So that was a first iteration that happened that I had just decided to change when I started the game. So I think, like, I even think if you go back and read the intro, which that's why I turned it to an unreliable narrator, there were a few mistakes there, like right at when I started it, there's weird things going on there. But when we were creating it, I waited for you guys. I had ideas for what I wanted to do with the affinities and chosens and things like that, but I wanted to wait for you guys to create your characters because I didn't want to automatically choose them or have them be like presented out there. So it's fun to see you guys create your character, because I also asked you guys too, like, hey, is there an affinity you do not want to be? I don't want to be like, I don't want sun and have that like me be sun boy if you don't like that aesthetic or don't like that thing to happen, or you know, like whatever, like earth or stuff. So I did get an idea of like what you guys were inclined to. But I honestly, I mean, I think the easiest one was just Anais and the Tempest. Though that could have gone many different directions. I was kind of like, I could tie it to earth, I could tie it to water, I could tie it to sky. But you guys all had about 2 or 3 that I had connected with you. And that was really tough for me because I had other elements of the story that I had to plan out, and histories of Chosens and how it's going to interact with you and the affinities and all that kind of stuff. That was so rotating because I actually didn't make that final choice until you guys were awakened. I would have let it if you had steered Meikai into more of a stars thing, I would have changed it to stars versus. But I do remember, I think I'd already predicted these 4 exactly as they were ahead of the game. And I think most of you guys were like thinking that that's how it would play out. And so part of me was like, I'm going to change it for the sake of changing it. Like, but I think all of you guys just went directly into it. Cause I think, I wanted to go Earth with Kahu originally. And just the way he gravitated to the water, tribal towns, the nautical themes, I was like, that has to be water, you know, like it just is. And then you kind of like really gravitated to the moonlight and kind of that Japanese style of telling, and that kind of went that way. I think for Zach, I knew it was always going to be light based because I think we mainly did it off of like what does your magic look like, like, well, you know, the aesthetic. And so I kind of knew it was always going to be fire or sun. So it was either going to be sun or light essentially. But originally I had wanted to write light into a different route in my story. So that's how you got stuck with Solus essentially. Yeah, nice. So that was actually a rotating thing. And originally I had at least kind of wanted to give you guys somewhat of a choice, but also wanted it to be revealed in game as well. Yeah, that's kind of where that choice came from. Any other questions you guys have for like the affinities or like how that was done?
Well, I know that there's pairings too, and Shiv was kind of saying that like
that actually came way later.
Did it?
Yeah, I hadn't really paired them except for like moon and water, right? Because that's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really fully pair them until the volcano guys unlocked,
Mm-hmm.
and I had that mechanic, and I was like, works. And so that's I had already wanted to introduce darkness as an affinity, and I had it in mind for a while, and I couldn't choose certain elements, and I wrote myself into another plot hole later on. And honestly, I Mark and John, you guys have probably pushed me the most as a DM to like give depth to certain things that I think I just weren't going to give depth to. And I love that. I love the idea of like, oh, let me rethink that. Why is corruption? What happened? You know, it lets me explore something that you might not even ever come up with in game, but it makes me go back and figure that out for your interactions. And so I had just been fighting back and forth on how did I want darkness to be an affinity? Did I want it to be absorbed? Did I want it to be refracted? Like there's just a lot of wordings and how I wanted it to play out. And Zachary was asking those questions and I knew you guys would want it later. So when that mechanic happened, that's when I decided to be like, no, this is going to be an actual affinity and another source, and then allow the Genasi to tell you the correct version of the creations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that came way later. That was not something planned at all.
Well, I know that during like John and I's thing in the water temple when we had met the former affinities, there was the, oh yeah, they're always paired, like they always do gravitate. And I feel like, you know, you always hear like the sun and the moon, but like they're also opposites, right? So, you know, the sun the moon always is paired with the water because of that push and pull. You know, the sun and the sky being paired, you know, and then the earth and the stars.
That was less affinity based of pairing and more of a speech of like, you can't do this alone.
Oh, gotcha.
It's fates united. It's that idea of you have to rely on the other people. Like if you guys, That's why if you go off on your own as a chosen, like that chosen will on its own fail at the chosen's thing. Like maybe not on their own event,
Mhm.
but like they can't stand against corruption with one affinity. It has to be all
Yeah.
the affinities. And I think that's what the Genasi explained, because
Mhm.
they have like the ancient one's power was split between the 8. So the 8 combined equal the corruption's power. Yeah, it's really fun. I love
Nice.
it. Rachel, do you have anything?
Well, I had a question that I wrote for John originally that I wanted to ask
Yeah,
him.
perfect.
So
Yeah, it's not just
with
for me. Like, this is for anybody. You guys can point
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
just make sure.
No, I want all the questions, guys.
Give them to me. It's the Mikey show.
Mikey monologue.
Oh, the mic.
Yeah, we're gonna go full camera time.
Yeah, bye guys.
Actually, my camera's not even on, so that doesn't even work right
Oh,
now. So
ha.
black screen, like. Anyway, go ahead.
Hydrate, thank you. So yeah, my question for John is, so when it comes to Kahu and his relationship with Amaya and his, I mean, deep attachment to her still, like he is clearly not over her. He, you know, it's like she's with him every step of the way. Like she's always in his mind. Did you plan that he would be so attached to her still, or was that kind of like an unexpected thing?
I think the thing that decided me solidly that he would be still that attached to her was the unexpected moment when he went to the spirit world the first time and he saw her.
Mm.
I noticed a big
And I
change
think-
there.
And I think that was the moment where I was like, no, this is going to be something where like I really wanted it to kind of feel like he was like this was like they were at that level where like they wanted to do everything they could to make sure that they would be together forever before things went south in their
Mhm.
world. And it was like that was the thing that like shattered for him, right? And so like he kind of plods along and does as he's being shoved through the world right now. And that's like a hang up of his. It's one of his weaknesses that he's stuck there into where he wanted to be in the past. And I think it was that spirit world moment though, where he saw her the first time, that I decided like, yes, I want to commit with him on his attachment still being there.
Would you
Yeah.
say him and Amaya's relationship was a relationship that ended before it really could begin, or did they have a little bit of like, I mean obviously they spent time together, but like was it did they ever really spend time as a relationship prior and then it was losing that, or was it losing the potential of that, you know, like never even had a chance to settle down?
No, it was more of a they had that relationship, but the
Without spoilers.
yeah, they had that relationship. There was a lot of things that were challenging it, but that relationship existed, and they were between the two of them. They were doing a lot of things that were not normal for the area, and they were
Interesting.
willing to commit through that together, and then everything was lost.
So I just wasn't sure if it was
Yeah.
like a Maykar thing, where it's like it was so much potential in starting off, but then it kind of got ended before it could really solidify. But it sounds like you and her you were a little bit further along in that
Yeah,
relationship at that point.
One thing I can talk about, because I think I mentioned it or something similar between me and Meikai at one point, was like they had shield pairings when they fought because of the mind link capability. So everyone always fought mind linked with somebody else, and so like they were each other's shield pairing. And so like they trained and grew up together, learning how to fight next to each other and with each other. And it was that pairing, and then that evolved into something more. So like it's his like childhood, like fell in love, fought in many fights together, all kinds of things. and that's kind of part of what leads him to being why he is so. Why he's not just like, I shouldn't say just like, but why he's having a hard time getting fully through the situation.
Yeah.
So.
How is
Is
that
it-
then with Anais? With you?
I was just gonna ask that. Yeah, because they do that all the time in
'Cause
battle.
It's kind of what you're used to is that shield pairing. You've created a shield pairing so far. Does that? How is he dealing with that? Because of that, you know, like really get with him, or does it not even really play into it at the moment?
I think at the moment it's not playing into anything, because I mean he's been in more fights since that occurred, and he'd have to shield pair with other people. Right. So, like the shield pairing kind of started that in that scenario.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't the thing that
like him and
kept
Ergon
together.
probably had time where they've developed comfortability fighting and doing stuff because of
Right.
just their friendship and scouting.
And
Okay.
and I honestly didn't plan on the dual mind thing or like the mind link thing being something potentially as intimate as it was until actually session 0 when Mike very much made it more of an
like the
intimate
father and the
scenario
forehead and all that
yeah,
kind of
with
stuff.
forehead stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wanted the dad to be that, like, regardless of what happens, like, I'm proud of you, son, sort of feel, whereas the mom still loves, has that, but she has a responsibility as well. Like, not only is she a mom, she's a thief, whereas your dad can be like, I'm just like, but forget of everything else. I can, yeah, that was really fun. The highlight at the time. Right, do you have any other follow-ups or anything with that for that? Or are you
No,
satisfied?
that was really interesting though. Yeah, I've been pretty invested in Kahu and Nemea, so
Yeah.
even though she's dead.
Wah,
wah.
Which I love. I think I've told you guys this. I don't know if I've told the audience that whole inspiration of like. I honestly I had thought the little things about you spirit walking because I know that's a Kalistar thing and I've thought about it. But like making you like a prophecy of the spirit walker again, that was all like just decided in that moment. Like, okay, cool, I'm gonna lean into this. I'm gonna go for it. So the inspiration was Deadpool. Was just that scene in Deadpool of having this mirror where you just can't get to her, and like, what are you gonna do in your real life to settle that? Is that a, and also how does Kahu see it? Is it like, does he really believe that this is her soul and a spirit realm, or is this a projection of his own feelings and closure with it? So it's a lot of intrigue for me to see how Kahu's gonna interact with that and process everything. Wait, John, you got a question?
Yeah.
For anybody, everybody?
If John doesn't, I have one.
Digging for him. I'm digging for him. Go ahead and do yours, Delia. I'm gonna look for her.
Going off of the name or going off of the character like look creation, was there any reason that you chose a name in specific? This is kind of like for everybody. Yeah.
No.
You just liked it.
Nice.
That's usually how Mark chooses names. Like, that sounds good.
I imagine him having like one of those like dartboards and just like boop.
Gregory.
Or like
Cool.
I like it though. I mean, it's very suiting. He seems like a Zach, so I like it.
Clearly not for me, because I obviously forget how close names are to each other subconsciously. So yeah, most of the times I don't have a reason. I want something that sounds like that culture, that that person, and I kind of lean into something that seems like aesthetically it'd fit. But there's, except for Morir. Morir's the only one, but that's not. But yeah, typically there's reason behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd usually just get a feel for a name and I'm like, that seems like a good name. Sometimes I'll look up name meanings, like I did that with Ave and I did that with Karis, but for Anais, I didn't do that. There's a character in the Bible named Ananias, and I always thought that
Oh.
was the coolest name. But I was like, I don't want to be that person that's like, I'm gonna name a character after a character in the Bible. So I was like, wait, what if I just chopped off part of the name?
Bartholomew.
Anais.
I
Yeah.
like that.
So that's where I got Anais.
I thought you were sticking Psy into it as a Easter egg, because if you do it backwards, Psy is the last three.
Oh no, I didn't even think about
I was
that.
like, okay.
I like that.
No, I just liked the name Ananias, so I just sliced off something.
What about you, John? What
Yeah.
about you and Kawaranji?
Well,
It's a good
Kawaranji was
story.
because I wanted the green eyes on my character.
It took forever.
And I was like, it's like the stone. And then I was like, hey. And then, like, his parents would name him that because he's the only person in the family with that color eyes. It's the same as the stone.
Nice. Like it. Yeah, for the longest time I didn't. That was real. So.
I didn't either.
It took forever to name Kahu because we kept
Came
going
up
like
with the
through.
name of a stone, and I was like looking it up. I was like, oh, it's
Well,
legit.
I think John and I had spent time, like I remember one of the nights was just like, okay, we're coming up with like this guy's name, what is it gonna be? We were looking at Norse names, Maori names, and then that kind of stuck, and we're like, what's Kahurang? You know, we looked up like how to
Yeah.
pronounce it and then how to say it, and then we're like, oh, there's a stone, it's also called the Pamu stone as well. And yeah, so that was kind of fun.
I almost had your dad nickname you Pamu at one point because of that. I was like, that might be something cute for him to do.
That'd be cute, or like his like,
Or like you
little
could call your
brother
little
calls him
brother
that.
Pamu. Yeah, or something like that. But yeah,
That's so cute. Meikai, I know everybody knows, and I did write it in one of my things. Meikai has a meaning, which means clarity in Japanese, with certain characters. But when she was turned, clarity, the characters to write her name was changed into Hades, or the underworld. And that was done intentionally, and so that was kind of like her mark, you know. I mean, she can still write it out in common, I guess, instead of infernal, but yeah, the name was kind of stripped from her. But clarity was intentional because I wanted to keep the tiefling name virtues, because in the 5e lore they're usually named after virtues or like a color or something, you know. So I wanted to keep that, and so I was looking up the Bushido code, the samurai code, and I didn't really jive with like the main code, but I saw that clarity was like kind of like an addendum to the virtues of the samurai code, and I was like, oh, I kind of like that. So yeah.
John, did you have a question?
I do.
Yeah.
I remembered one now. This one's for Zach, if he's willing to answer. For Mark.
Answer all the
Let me answer in
questions.
behalf of Zach.
Let's see.
Doesn't have to be spoilers or anything. But I was curious, after Zach has had an opportunity to kind of interact with all of the different characters in the party thus far, I'm curious how Zach feels about each of the different party members.
Yeah, me too.
I want to preface this by Zach's opinions do not match Mark's opinions of the
This
players
is a
or
disclaimer.
characters.
You can share both opinions here. You can share
Yeah,
Zach's and your
there
own.
we go.
I'm gonna
Mark-
take it personally.
Mark likes all of you and all of your characters, so
Mm-hmm.
put that out there. Zach, now,
He's judgy.
I've been waiting for this question. It's my favorite.
Zach likes Anais. Zach thinks Anais is someone he is very close to, very much a friend to, and wants to look out for her and cares a lot about her and trusts her. I mean, he's introduced her to their sisters.
Before Sasha.
Yeah, like she's the only one in the party who knows where his sisters are, even. So, like, she's probably the one he's closest to out of basically anybody at the Centaurium. Maybe Sasha's close, but I think Anais may even beat her out a little bit. It's kind of they're close in how much he would trust with them. Kahu right now, I think Zach is convinced that Kahu doesn't like him, and Like he feels sort of like Kahu doesn't respect him and has never done the mind link with him. So like he feels kind of hurt by that, honestly, because he's done it with everybody, it seems like, but he feels really singled out that this has never happened to him. And
He
just
wants to stare.
I think in recent sessions they just have had no interaction. So he thinks that Kahu just is like, oh, he's just this little kid and doesn't respect him. So just like, okay, I guess I'll leave Kahu alone. But he likes Kahu enough. Like he thinks Kahu's pretty wise in what he's done. Like he's helped Anais, which he appreciates. But I think he just feels like Kahu is beyond him. He's just kind of like, okay, that's fine. He's older and I'm younger. It's whatever. Makai.
The preface was for Makai.
Zach does not like Makai. I'll put it this way.
Yeah.
And again, nothing personal against you, Deep. Mark likes both
Oh, yeah.
Makai and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
but besides you saying you helped his sister, I don't know if you've had a positive interaction with Zach yet. Besides that,
Just being snoopy as heck.
Like, and you always get so close, and just not. It's like right there at the end, and be like,
he,
so funny.
Yeah, he sees her as very aggressive, and yeah, nosy is another thing that has happened a lot. So there's just a lot of reasons, I think.
She lectures him a lot.
In game,
I think
She does.
Yeah.
I think she went off on him one time when he was having like a terrible day and just like yelled at him about how he wasn't like manning up or something. So, just like all these things combined, Zach is just like, okay, I guess if we're chosen, I kind of have to work with her, but he is not currently.
I wouldn't have chosen that chosen, but whatever.
He
Yeah.
he would have a rough time saying he is friends with her. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I want to know everybody else's.
Yeah, go around. I want to hear it.
Sure. Should I go?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I think with Zach, I think it's about the same. She trusts him. She trusts him a lot. He was the first person to even take notice of her, or besides Bri, but like to actually ask her some pretty pointed questions. And because Zach asked her those questions, she actually opened up to him, which I didn't expect. But it was like when she did, I was like, she really needed to talk to someone about this, and Zach was the one that was there. So, and then ever since then, he even said like, you're my family now. And like, that just meant a lot to her, especially just with feeling like she has no one except for Bri. So Zach is definitely up there on the trust scale. Kahu has gone up and he's about at the level of Zach trust-wise, just because he understood her rage and didn't tell her it was wrong even, but he just told her to control it. And no one had said that to her before. They were all just like, just be happy and smile. Like Bri would always say that to her. And like Zach, would be like, just remember your family. And that wasn't what she needed to hear at the time either. But for Kahu to be like, control your rage and like move past this with that in mind, like really helped. And he was just there for her like through the whole assassin thing. And he was just really willing to see it through to the end with her. So she took a lot of comfort in that. So she really respects him a lot. And it's about trust, the same as Zach. Makai she really likes, and she's noticed like how she's really kind and always goes out of her way to give people like little gifts and presents. And she always appreciates the things that Makai has done for her. Unfortunately, she's been so numb that she doesn't really acknowledge much of it or even act that receptive to it, but she does notice, and I think that will pay off over time. But I will say I feel like they got a lot closer when Makai was basically like, I understand, killing and rage, and I've been there, and if you ever want to just go kill them and sneak off from the other two, like we totally can.
Just go.
The
Yeah.
whole scene,
Petals
the
and
whole
things.
scene at the prison was really, I think, bonding.
Yeah.
Like, I'll stay up with you. Hey,
Yeah, where they both
while they're
stayed up.
sleeping,
Yeah.
if you just want to, whatever, like.
Yeah, that was their
Yeah.
friendship moment. I don't think they were friends before that, but now I think Anais considers her like a friend.
Yeah.
Not as close as the other two, but definitely, I think they're friends.
Hmm.
So that was cool.
We're
I
having a
liked
chance to
those
start
two.
it now.
Yeah, I think definitely,
Hmm.
definitely. We got a good
Yep.
foundation.
It's building.
I feel with Kahu, he's unsure about how to deal or approach Zach. He feels like Zach doesn't really want a lot to do with him because he feels like, oh, well, the things I'm good at is fighting and killing things, and Zach clearly does not want to do that kind of stuff. And he feels like Zach is very intelligent and very much enjoys his books, and he's just like, I don't want to bother Zach because he's dealing with all that kind of stuff. And so I feel like he kind of has this like, yeah, I want to get to know him, but like I don't know how to approach, or I don't know how to properly initiate that kind of thing with him. Like I tried my food techniques, and I tried just chatting with him, and it didn't really seem to work very well.
That like arm over the shoulder too was fantastic.
Yeah. So Kahu's kind of stumped at the moment when it comes to Zach and like what the next steps should be to take. Yes, I feel that Kahu, even though it was different circumstances and everything, he could tell he could tell that Anais was in pain. And he also understood that, like, for himself, like, although he's not past completely with the whole Maya situation, you know, I have this feeling part of the reason why he's so close to his dad is because of how much his dad helped him to get to where he currently is at versus where he was at when it first occurred. And a big part of that was, you know, him learning that it's okay to feel. And so, like, that's really what he was trying to portray to Anais, that, like, these things exist. No point in stopping them. But you can at least move things along. And he's really he's glad to see that Anais seems to, like, be starting to get a path to move forward on. And, like, I feel like he probably feels closest to Anais of the group currently. Meikai's probably the close one after that, but I think Anais he feels closest with, which is part of the reason why he did want to make sure he saw everything through in that scenario, because, like, she had decided to make a decision. He's like, I'm going to stick with you whether you change your decision or not. Like, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And then Meikai, I think Kahu's currently like, I mean, for one, he loves that he gets pocket cookies from her all the time.
I feed you.
Yeah, he definitely appreciates that. And I also feel like they're really good sparring partners, and like he enjoys sparring with them. And that's another thing too, right? Because he's able to spar with Anais and Meikai, like that is like a way he's learned to like get to know people. But because Zach's not really into sparring, he's like, I don't know what to do. So like I had thoughts of things to do, but they haven't come to fruition yet. And like things worked out in a way where I didn't have the chance to like ask Zach to like, yeah.
These are the moments
So
that
do
I'm
stuff.
super excited for going forward, coming to the second arc. Is there's a lot of big stuff that's happened in urgency and story things, but to give you guys like the 3 days of like your next place, like what are these conversations going to be like? What are these interactions going to start looking like? How is it going to manifest? Like, is there going to be a sweet moment where Kahu and Zachary have that breakthrough? Or what I'm calling, and I'm going to put my wager on it, that at some point there's going to be a blowout of like an argument. And not even like an argument because like, oh, we hate each other, like something stupid, but like a discussion or like a difference of opinion on how we should go forward. Like, no, we're gonna talk, then we can't kill him, or like, we have to kill him, you know, like that kind of like sort of thing, where it's gonna get to a point where like there has to have that like break and kind of face to face, but then that realization of like, wow, okay, we are both coming to it at this for the same reasons, just from different angles, and how can we compromise that? Because I think every character here can compromise when they want to. So that's something I'm actually really looking forward to see, is more of these interactions once all the other representatives are gone, because they're slowly being just stripped away, and
Yeah.
guys gonna be left.
Yeah, Meikai really likes Anaya. She wants to protect her, wants to help her. She does like giving her gifts because she's like, this poor small child like got stripped everything of her home. Like there's that like connection there of like the
Oh,
same
true.
kind of thing of like Meikai. I feel kind of funny because she's already blown all the money that they got at the beginning, right? But it's because like she wasn't just buying clothes for herself. It's buying like some things for like other people and like doing that like gifting thing and like buying those potions and you know that kind of stuff. So she really wants to help Anais because she knows what it's like in that to, you know, even though her parents are alive, she's not allowed to see them, and to journey so far from home and unfamiliar territory and like have literally nothing but like the clothes on your back, you know. And so she understands that from her survival endpoint. She understands Kahu for the same kind of reasons, coming from that like rough this is life, have to deal with it, like, you know, it's not just gonna give you flowers and lemons and you can't just, you know, like you have to deal with it and face it. And also for, I think a big moment was Kahu sharing his story, and it's kind of interesting to her to see that like they both kind of helped end the lives of the ones that they loved, but they were done in such differences of mindset, you know, where Meikai's came from a thing of anger, Kahu's came from a plea of Amaya, right? Like he had said. And so she thinks it's really interesting in that viewpoint. But yeah, Zach, she's like, I need to smack some sense into this boy. She really has such
That's
a
the
like
blowout that I'm calling it for sure.
yeah. Oh yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if she's just yelled at him. But yeah, no, she thinks she knows because of her. She's a very understanding person too. Like she understands that Zach has things. I mean, she saw that. Like she knew Sasha was mad because Zach wasn't telling her stuff. Zach wasn't telling anybody stuff, right? So she's like, well, you know, I can respect that you want to be private. However, we're in all this crap. You're not saying anything. You were being naive and silly, and you're acting like a brat and just like being mad at him for like not caring. You know, she's like, you seem so caring to, you know, Anais and to Sasha, but you don't care about like anything other than like the circle. And like while she gets that, she also feels like in her mind she knows that the world's gray, it's not black and white, and she feels she's always thought the ASMRs were more pretentious. That's just like a thing that the tieflings and the like,
Yeah, it's a cultural
at least
thing,
it's a cultural thing. And so she's like, well, he's an ASMR, like okay, but she still wants to respect his privacy. But now I think she will definitely go after him. Sorry, Mark. And just be like, look, son, like you are a tiny child. I will put you on your butt. You need to come to terms with things. But she also wants him to look at her, because I think she's really frustrated that like when she had told her story that he was like, okay, whatever. And you know, Anais was just like, are you okay? And Alana's like, it's okay. And then he's like, bye. And then she's like, oh, okay. Which I thought was hilarious. And like, it suited Zach, you know, because Meikai did kill someone. So she knows that that's going to be something that Zach has to come to terms with. Yeah. And not that she wants him to accept it, but she wants him to understand that it wasn't done in the way that she thinks he is judging her for. So, but I think they could be really, really, really close. given the opportunities to, because Meikai would definitely lay down her life and totally go for helping Zach's family. You know, I don't even know the full situation on that as a player. So, but like, you know, if any of the group was like, hey, can we go help, you know, my family or whatever, Meikai's like, yeah, let's go, like 100%, you know. So I think it'll be really fun. But yeah, that's kind of her current state. So sorry, Mark, I'm gonna be coming after you for a little bit.
I had
But it's
two quick questions, I think, before we're gonna wrap this. I think they'll be pretty quick to answer though. But Mark, with me setting up possible other realms, making it canon that Taldore could potentially bleed into this realm, how mad or upset were you when I kind of hinted that the possibility of Beacon's aura could be a realm out there that potentially could bleed in, if that's ever a thing? Do you even, like, I know that was a joke thing for Easter, but I mean, now that I've set up the mechanic, that is technically a possibility if you were to allow it in canon in yours. But how do you feel about that? About the idea of realms in this one?
I think that's a fine little Easter egg thing to nod towards the game, because we have a back and forth, like there's Fate stuff in Beacon, sometimes there's Beacon stuff in Fates.
What's Fate stuff in Beacons?
We've been like Renan makes jokes about stuff all the time. Like we
meta jokes, yeah.
Meta jokes that happen all the time.
Okay.
I think Rachel's wondering, is there like in-game like?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I like, you put something in there.
I think there's enough similarities in, like, accidental similarities in story that potentially could be linked if like me and Mark ever sat down and wanted to link them. But
yeah. So
because I remember you just first time you're like, or not, like, what is he doing? And am I gonna have to rewrite anything with B? Because I'd just be like, nope, that's his AU. Like,
yeah. I think they are separate, just with how kind of things are in the world, but it's fine to make little meta jokes. I think that's funny. So.
Fun. And then Anais, I kind of know the answer a little bit. Well, I mean, like, the answer at first glance is pretty obvious, but I am kind of curious just what you know, how you would be with the question that D asked. What do you think Anais would have done had Bri not found her? Like, would she be running around like a feral child? And just this idea of, like, let's just say I hadn't sent Bri out there. What if the Stormlord, some ways, had Storm Affinity, had guided you to the Centaurium without Bri? Like, how different? Like, would she have even, like, shown up, taken a shower there? Like, how different do you think Anais would have been?
Well, yeah, I guess it would depend on if the storm would have guided her out in the first place, because essentially why she was there for so long was she was trying to get out of the desert on her own. But she was just having a really hard time. She kept geting turned around. She hadn't lived there in a long and scared to go into a city, scared to go anywhere, so she was just sort of stuck. Couldn't really get on any resources aside from food for that day, if that. I did say kind of that, the storm, she would always be looking for clouds and like this storm, and it did lead her to food. It did take care of her in its own way. You know, just enough to keep going.
And guided her to the spot to where Bridecarious did find her.
Exactly. So, yeah, if it guided her to the Centaurium, she would have followed it. And
she would have stayed,
felt...
and especially not having a link to your past, would that have made a difference? Or at least not thinking there was a...
So essentially, she has such a deep trust with the storm because of just how everything went down. If she would have felt like the storm was telling her to stay at the Centaurium, like, this is where you can strengthen yourself, she would have stayed. But if she didn't feel clear guidance, then she would have moved on. So, it's basically, at that point, she was so dependent on it, and it was her only ally for so long, she probably would have done anything it suggested at that point. So
fun. Okay. Yeah, because that was one big thing for me. I was like, man, if Bridecarious didn't show, I don't know how to keep Anais with the others right now. So that's really
Yeah.
interesting that that you could have just relied on.
Yeah,
Right.
I think she would have been a lot more, like you said, feral. Like, I
Right.
don't think her connection to her
Living up to
past
that
would have been
barbaric look.
reestablished.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she would have almost, like, a lot of this has been me and her discovering her old self and, like, what she used to be before all this
Putting
happened.
in
So,
the memories that you have of like both
yeah.
dad, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I don't think that would have happened, if that makes sense.
Fine.
It would have just more survival Anais. So.
Mm.
Cool. I think it's a great place to start wrapping up. Is there anything else, last minute things you guys just want to do and be like, no, I really need to ask this? Because I think we've hit really good stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, actually, this one was for Zach. Is he
You're like, Foster
is he scared? Because like he used his wings the first time in the volcano, and then Meikai's like, I knew it, and then he used it like really willingly, but like he seemed really like, don't tell anybody, guys. And then he used them like openly for Bri. And so I wanted to know, like, what does Zach think of them? Is it like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't use this? Or is it only for emergencies? Or like, I just wanted to know, like, why did he use them for Bri? Was it because like he could go slightly faster?
So I mean, the reason why, like, he's not ashamed of them. Like, he likes them. He's not ashamed of them at all. He's pretty proud he has them. I guess kind of the secrecy, and Meikai might know this because you're close to the culture of the ASMR, is like most ASMR have the skeletal wings if they have wings. So Mike has said that my family is the only one with the feathered angel wings that's left. So it's kind of one of those things that's just like, don't rub it in other people's faces type of a deal.
Big arrow over him too.
Yeah.
So like he used it at the dwarf thing because no one else was around to be offended by them, and Bri's in trouble, and like we separated from the group, like we were away from the group because we had already split off, and then I was gonna get him to safety, so I just was like fly over stuff with Bri basically at that point and get away from the danger. So it was kind of like not drawing too much attention to it, but yeah, he's not ashamed of them at all.
Yeah,
but he's also not trying to like make people feel bad that they don't have them.
I'm special.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, but then Sasha doesn't know, does she? I guess
Sasha hasn't seen them.
Yeah. But Anais has seen them.
Did we say they manifest for your entire bloodline, or is it only? We had this.
I mean, that's a level ability
thing.
for an ASMR. So it's not based off of class; it's based off of level. So it's anybody who gets to 5th level.
So it's not like
fourth
every
level.
ASMR has skeletal wing, but the more. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
like
they get their wings, I think, at 3rd or 4th level. I'm pretty sure.
So Sasha would know your family line is the. I don't think.
If I have them, yeah.
We did say you can hide them, right? They hear once.
Yeah, they only are around for like a minute or so.
Yeah, you're not just walking around with full of wings or anything. Yeah.
What? Yes, this whole time.
I was just really excited because like Meikai's like, well, they have a floating city. Like, how else are they gonna get up there? You know, like
Airships?
they have to fly somehow. Well, that too, but like, I feel with like the history that Meikai knew.
Yeah.
She was just always really curious.
They're incorporeal wings too, based off of the lore of it. So.
Yeah.
Going off of that though, I think I forgot to answer earlier because I was kind of talking about like how the wings would point out that as a thing. With the affinities, the tattoos, I chose forehead. Because their will could potentially come into play the places you guys chose. But I wanted one place where it really, there's two things. Narratively, I wanted something where you guys are a beacon of hope. Like anyone can look at you and be, that's a chosen, right? Like something has to set you aside from being someone else. And so there was that first 5 levels of you getting to choose to be that, and you could walk away, you could get used to being a chosen and be mundane. But now at 5th level going forward, like you're chosen. You're set apart and you're risen above something else. So what would make that difference? How can people tell that difference? And then there's just the DM side of like, yeah, you guys can't hide this to an extent. You know, I'm not saying it's always glowing and just like every little moment it's everyone knows. Like you could wear a bandana, you could wear a hat, you could put hair over it.
Bangs.
Yeah, as D has said, everyone gets bangs.
Unless you activate it.
Straight across.
But that was the other thing too. I was like, but even covering it, it's the magic shines through. Like it's
What do you mean by activating it though? Like that doesn't make sense.
Using your
powers, using your affinity powers, using your weapons. You're not quite sure exactly what activates.
It's
the
new.
relic.
Look at your weapon.
Want to test it.
Ah!
You're thinking about the affinity.
I'm blind. Yeah.
Anytime you do something like you're like happy with,
Yeah.
it's like a mood ring.
Right. It turns red. You didn't like my backstory? Cool.
Oh.
Get something you like and it turns green.
Zach
Yeah.
looks at like the other two and then he looks at Maykai and it just turns red. Whoa.
I mean, when the rumble happens, both Nekai and
Oh,
Oh yeah,
Zach
the-
will be-
yeah.
So, that was just something I wanted just to be out there because I intentionally have built this story. I told you guys from the beginning, like this was meant to be that heroic story. This is a tale of legends. And part of that is increasing slowly that feeling of you are something separate. You are a heroic thing outside of just a regular person, right? So that's kind of part of it, is like you guys have powers that are manifesting over time. You guys have weapons that increase. You guys have markings that might manifest more. If you're level 20, are you going to look like an affinity? You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like? So
Shing.
I'm having fun leaning into that because I feel like it's separate than just the normalcy. And I'm sure campaign 2 will totally be normal, but that's something I'm intentionally leaning at.
Mhm.
So,
It's fun.
yeah.
I like it. I like all the symbols too. They're fun.
I did that.
I did tell D and Mike this, but
He
there may
instantly
be some
regrets
regret that I made them a little more complicated because now I have to draw them on people's foreheads.
And I told you I regret that with Kahu's tattoos.
Yeah, I didn't check with my artist before I chose forehead.
We are going to riot. It was- yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I remember saying foreheads and just seeing 2 faces being like, okay, like interesting.
It's funny because I remember on my thing I was like, yeah, the forehead's fine. Like,
yeah, I think that's where I first decided it. Because I was like getting everyone's ideas,
Sorry, guys.
and then I was like, well, I think I'm gonna choose the first thing's gonna be the same, and then we'll see going forward how that evolves. But
yeah,
sweet. Any other burning questions? Be a good one.
I don't think so. I'm just excited to see how this like all changes. Like we'll look back and we'll be like, wow, look how much friendship we have.
I love it.
Or not. I don't
Or not,
know.
yeah.
Or how much
I-
hatred we have for
I
each
really,
other. You
I
never know.
really love
No,
this
Zach,
mood ring
yeah.
idea. I think it's really great. Just golden towards
make-
Anais and
Is
Yeah.
Maykai the first person Zach's gonna intentionally try to harm?
I mean, he had to think about it.
It's about it. Ooh. Oh gosh.
That's actually an interesting question. Mark, I don't know if this is something you want to reveal for later. I know he doesn't want to kill, but like,
Would he maim
he-
or
like,
harm?
yeah, would he, if like, if he saw someone in danger, to stop, to protect them, would he be go that far and do it, or is it like a strict Batman line? I'll find a way.
I mean, he's attacked things. Like he killed that shadow monster.
Yeah,
It's true.
like a person. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
we'll see what happens when people come into play.
Oh,
but
favorite moment.
Yeah, I thought Shiv had a nice
Cool.
little
Yeah, let's end
question.
on that favorite moment.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of favorite moments, but one I know that was so cute.
Cute.
That's what I mean. It's hard to
That was
choose
really
because there's
cute.
a lot of really cute like moments and a lot of like really meaningful moments. For some reason though, the one that stands out to me, and I think I'll tell you why after I say it, but my favorite moment was when Kahu and Anais had gone to the prison and they took care of it, and when they came back, Meikai did the whole like noodles thing, and then like afterwards I think Kahu and Anais were like talking to each other in their heads, and Kahu was like, yeah, I don't think Meikai minds like spending more time with Sarkar, and Anais like straight up laughed like in her head to Kahu, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was the first time Anais has laughed like this entire campaign. And I don't know, I was just like happy
It's
she
so
did.
cute.
Especially because I didn't think she ever would laugh because we don't have telepathy. She's not going to make the sound out of her mouth. She's just going to smile silently. But she could in her head to Kahu. And I just thought that was cool. And
That's
I
fun.
liked it. That was my favorite.
That was really cute.
Yeah.
Mine's the same as Amara's. Is that whole water temple divided by darkness and
That was cool.
letting the whole temptations
yeah.
of all that. I mean, honestly, all of you guys and standing up to darkness and its temptations to you guys was really fun. But that moment of like just that divide, and I think Kahu's every time he's willing to take the damage instead as a shield, and then having that be like breaking her out of the vision of like stabbing June, and then all of a sudden it being Kahu and then just hugging. Like that was so good. Anybody else favorite moments?
I like rolling 4 natural 20s in a row.
Donkulous.
That was pretty crazy.
I'm like looking at all my rolls. I'm like, I'm just gonna start doubling my boost to all my enemies because I roll so low, and just be like, instead of a +5, it's a +10 now.
Yeah.
I found some good stuff in that dungeon, so I like rolling 4 nat 20s in a row. That was great.
That was really nice.
That's crazy.
There's a lot. I think for specifically Meikai, I think anytime she was able to tell her story to somebody and they like listened, so Kahu, and then really then connecting it to Anais and like her asking about that, and then Car listening, honestly. I think that was really nice because that like showed a little bit of growth for her in those moments. Really enjoyed that. But like as a player, oh gosh, I feel like that snowball fight thing was so cute. I really like I love cute moments like that. And like anytime any interactions with Carlos have just been like 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely love. Yeah.
I had my favorite almost moment with Carlos, and I don't know how I was gonna explain it, but I was dying inside this idea that like you guys were in that volcano city, and like you were hyping up this spa trip, and then like Meikai was the only one that went to the spa that night, and she was alone, and I was like, how weak if just Carlos just popped out and just like, oh yeah, you really like the spa here? I kind of like it too, like finding somehow for him to just have been like, I don't know, just pop in there. I thought it'd be so funny. I'm like, I can't make it work.
I know how he would pop in there because he's a
Well,
trickster god.
True,
And he
true.
can just
I mean, as a
move.
trickster god, I can go where I know every spot. I have a connection to each one, every hot spring.
He has like a card.
I can't
like a
teleport,
touch
but I can pop through each hot
You
spring.
can
So
like go underwater and then
Of course,
transport to different spots.
if you want to go
it's
anywhere,
like
it's
the
just
druid.
yeah, just
It's
forget
that
a tree.
druid,
It's a
that
hot
tree
spring.
door, but it's
Yeah.
the water.
Oh yeah, I mean, God's manifest me as a trickster god. I'll make it work.
I love it.
Perfect. I think that's a great point to wrap
Wait, did
up.
John say his?
Oh, did you?
John didn't say.
Ew.
I have way too many things that I've loved about this game so far. I mean,
My favorite
It's
part is
definitely-
playing with you, my friends, every week.
God bless everyone.
God bless everyone.
But I mean, I can even think just early sessions. I loved the scene where I had the opportunity to fight Sir Car, and I loved the fact when you like basically knocked the weapon out of my hand, and it was like my first nat 20 of the game to keep hold of my weapon, and like it just felt like a really epic moment between like the two fighting, and like Sakar being like, oh, this guy's not a chump.
Yeah.
And then like I loved the scene I had with the Mayav. I actually really enjoyed all the opportunities I've had to have one-on-ones with everyone's characters too. I've liked my
Zach,
PC.
apparently.
Huh?
Except you and Zach, apparently.
I personally really liked my one-on-one with Zach.
You did, yeah. I think it's the setup for something future, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I feel the one thing I liked, so I felt like the one thing that harkened back to that a little bit to me, even though Kahu wasn't there, so Kahu doesn't know this, but like there was a moment when Zach was talking with his sisters, and he gave one of his sisters a knife and like talked to her about like, well, I know some people who fight, and you know it's their way of helping and things like that. Like
That was cute.
Slowly sinking in, but he just doesn't.
to me, that was maybe like the one time Kahu got to have a one-on-one with Zach, and I felt like it was a good one too. That like, I don't know. I liked the moment then with his sister later, being like, "Oh, something did sink in with him,"
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
even though Kahu doesn't know.
Yeah.
I love Shiv's comment. And just everyone's having a group hug, and he just sneaks out and just on the outside, just patting someone on the back. Like,
Yeah.
We don't need this.
right. Well, I think we're gonna go and wrap that session. I actually had a lot of fun. I did not think we'd fill a whole session of just sitting around talking about this. I honestly thought it'd be like 3 questions.
Oh,
and we'd be
I knew we would. We
This
could
is gonna
talk
be a
for
whole thing.
ages. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, this was really, really fun. So I personally wanted to just end saying thank you. You all have been not only as players, but chat members, community, audience members. You just have been amazing and have made this game and this story so special to me, more than I thought I'd even be invested. So I wanted to thank you for these past 30 episodes and what's going to go forward. I am super excited for what we have, and just shocked that even one person ever watch a game that I DM or like that we play. So thank you again for all of your support, all of your likes, your follows, your subs to this channel. It's always appreciated. You guys already know what it means to me and where I'd be without it, and I will constantly reiterate. So from Fates United, from Bardicdice, thank you. Here, bring content and love and a space for you all to feel welcome and be a part of the story. That being said, join us next week for more surprises, more projects we have planned, and second arc of Fates United as we wrap up in the chaos of what has happened and start to see beginnings. We'll go ahead and end now and go ahead and raid Rain City Realms, which are having their first episode of a game. So yeah, they look really interesting, and it doesn't look like it's their first stream, but it looks like a first episode if you guys wanted to join in. They're only about 30 minutes in. So as always, you guys, the Bardic Barrage, are amazing. Show your love and respect as you always show love and respect for each other. We will go and hype things up. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful night. I'm gonna press raid because I always forget it takes a little bit in this awkward thing of saying goodbye while I keep on talking. But join us next Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more Fates United. Join us Sunday for Beacons or on Marquee Gaming, and I'll be back tomorrow with some more Zelda. Potentially more earlier in the day, but we'll see. I haven't decided yet. So yeah. Bye. Potatoes.